I sent a text today congratulating him. He never answered my text.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's done.
I don't know
What?
either. Are we rolling here? Tonight, we're gonna spend an hour updating our ordinances. We got a copy with some side notes from the any actions or anything need to be taken on this first page here?
Well, one thing I would suggest though, that council does do something regarding marijuana. So you don't end up with some weird thing here in town that,
Yeah,
I don't know what to say about it. I don't know the law, but I would have thought he would have sent something along, but of course he didn't.
He did, several months ago,
Okay,
but then nothing was ever done with it, so
City's got to adopt their own policy.
the city has to adopt something of, yeah.
is it legal now then in Minnesota to sell it or what is it? I don't keep
the
it.
rules are being developed yet. As
Oh,
far as I understand, it's not legal yet. Till the
You-
rules are done.
You can grow your own. But you can't actually buy the weed, I don't know.
Plant.
Yeah, you can't
Unless you
actually go,
have a-
you can't actually go into a store and buy
Unless
so
you
many
have-
ounces of
Unless you have
marijuana.
a medical.
them smoke
Right.
shops or none of them have any of that.
They have like the CBD and the
Drinks. or
Right.
whatever.
drinks and the whatever.
Yeah,
There's some
gummies and all
vaping and
that.
gummies and stuff like that, yeah.
How about the gummies? They're legal to sell, right?
Yeah, but they have, I don't know, so many things, something.
Is there a license required to sell gummies?
Well,
I don't think
I was
there
gonna
is
say
for
that.
gummies.
No, because we got gummies down. We don't have.
probably because you've got such a low dosage,
but
like the
that's-
smoke
that's-
shops do.
I would assume for gummies that there's gonna be some kind of licensing like tobacco and alcohol.
Yeah,
And there's different levels of them, I know as well. I mean, there's,
I don't know
Right.
either, but I think that needs to be addressed at some point, so you don't end up with some goofy thing. I don't know what it would be, but, and maybe there's nothing wrong with it. I don't know. I don't know anything about it. I just,
that's a good point to bring up because it's a changing society. Well, it is, maybe not now anymore, but. might
I'm
get back
just
to normal.
wondering, yeah,
yeah, no kidding.
there's been any cities that have had problems yet that have already adopted some rule that we would,
not that I'm aware of. I know some of the smaller cities have adopted some memorandums, but I don't know exactly what they are.
Like distance from schools and things like that, I suppose, but
Well, we're good there now.
yeah, don't have to worry about that, right? Daycare centers, maybe. even
Well, I can
too.
check
I
with
don't know.
Kennedy and try to draw something up. Or have
Yeah.
him work on something for
The next
December or
time.
January, like January's, maybe we'll wait until then.
So,
So on 1018, I would just recommend that we adopt Kennedy's language saying that copy is also available online.
yep, I would too.
I mean, and that's all we need to do for that one. I think everything else, that is okay.
So that would be a code change that we would make, yeah. I didn't see the attached copy of City of Brainerd's code for the next one there.
Because it's all right here, and I was not gonna print
Oh,
kill trees,
okay.
just to, I mean, I
Okay.
can, yeah.
But this is the deal that we've been talking about quite a bit, is that somebody don't clean up their yard, someone needs to be able to give them a ticket, so to speak.
Yep,
Sheriff's not gonna do it, because they don't care less about this,
that's right. And they had stated that when we hired them, right?
Yeah.
There'd be no dog complaints, yard
Yep.
issues. It's mainly the big stuff.
Unless it's a biting dog or something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that, but yeah, right. So I mean, that is something that
If
definitely
people
needs to,
report it.
You know, would it be one person or would it be two people that would represent the city in issuing a citation? Because, you know, just going back when races had some water meters, there's been an individual that people are kind of been, you know, wanted to have a sheriff close.
Mhm.
So, you know, you start having somebody do this, which I'm in favor of. Some of these could get nasty.
I think we need to look at what that
Minor did.
example is.
And
Because they must have some checks and balances, you know. Let's face it, prior to Sue, I would never grant that authority to the clerk.
absolutely not.
Never.
Never, no.
I feel much better about it today,
Yes, me
but there
too.
needs to be some balance there in checks, you know, I mean, whether that person needs to check with two people on the council on a committee or something first, you know what I mean?
Would those be hand delivered or mailed? That makes a difference too, because if you take a piece of property and you cite it as a nuisance, and you want it cleaned up. If you mail that letter, it would be a lot easier. Of course, then they're gonna say they never got it. And if you send it registered, we've had an individual that's never picked up the registered mail. So again, there you are back there. You made an attempt and then it stops.
But at least if it went registered, most people would take the registered mail,
Yeah,
you know, and if you had one, well, then that one there you could involve the sheriff with, you know, and I would think, have them hand deliver it.
but if you went straight north here to the end and said some of that needs to be cleaned up, an individual, what kind of, what roadblocks would you run into?
All kinds of them.
Yeah.
All kinds of, but at least this would start it.
I've got that if you wanna look at it briefly. This is the Brainerd one. Basically, it's sending out citations and there's dollar amounts attached to it.
Yeah.
Amboy does a, if I'm not mistaken, I think Amboy, the residents
That's what-
go to the meeting
Yeah,
and state that so-and-so's yard is
Yeah.
a disaster.
And he says that in here
Yeah.
someplace too.
And then whoever council decides, I think, goes out there and looks at it, or a letter gets sent. And then they can clean it up or they get fined. I think that's how Amboy's is. But I know, yeah, Amboy, the residents go and say, hey, Clymer's yard is a mess. They've got stuff laying all over, whatever. And then somebody goes out and investigates it and says it is or isn't. You go from there.
What if nobody does complain?
Then life is good.
Yeah.
Everybody in Good Thunder is compliant.
As long as no neighbor complains?
This one here is a hearing officer, they call it.
I mean, you know,
You'd be surprised what you hear down at the cafe. Not strangers, but people coming into town
mhm.
and they talk about the whole,
not the first one on the left, Scott. Coming into town from the east, not that first one, right?
well, the one on Main here.
Oh, well, I
Where
was
they
thinking,
go, how do we drove by and there's a tree growing
Yes.
out of the roof?
I just noticed that in the last 30 days.
I don't know.
This one over here, or the one down there?
The one there.
Yeah, the one over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the squirrels have packed that full of
Ginny's old
walnuts.
house?
And I think there were walnut sprouts coming out of that.
Ginny's old house?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
Which one?
there was somebody from Texas. I just
Penny
happened
Rademacher, I don't know if you remember when.
down there. They were talking about it. It's like. Yeah, that
Oh.
house on just up the hill, that blue point.
We sent them-
They have gotten a letter, yes.
So
Any response?
no citing?
Yes.
Just- Okay, okay, just,
I was, they were gonna come in and renew the permit.
Siding, yeah.
Never seen it, never did. And that was shortly after I started.
I mean, that ordinance is all well and good, but and then people that have the ability to write these administrative penalty tickets, we don't have anybody
Mm-mm.
except the fire chief. The fire chief is on the list. But I would imagine that you'd have to be selective as to what you allowed him to do to, or her to do too,
Mhm.
you know.
City building official, that wouldn't be like race with, or city zoning administrator, right?
Well,
Could you put zoning administrator
You
in,
could,
you know, to give that,
yeah,
yeah,
the zoning administrator would have the ability to do that.
yeah.
And, I don't know.
And again,
But then Brainerd's got a lot bigger city.
oh, yeah.
So how do
yeah.
you,
Yeah, I mean,
they've probably got somebody full-time just doing that.
Absolutely.
They have to with the
absolutely.
size of
They got
Brainerd.
multiple people
Yeah.
doing things
Yeah.
like that.
Oh, I didn't see that.
I don't know, I just,
I like what you said, I like Amboys, you know, what they do.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, like somebody has to be a narc, which, you know, I don't know if you could do it anonymously.
No, because they go to the council meetings.
Oh,
This person will go to the council meeting.
it's
I've
complaint
watched a
based.
couple of their council meetings.
oh, you
Yep.
have, okay.
Yep.
'Cause I was just wondering if, I mean, if someone goes to sell, you know, that's a devalue of
Mhm.
property, so then somebody's definitely gonna complain, but otherwise, you know, I just wonder how much will people let go because they don't wanna come to the public and say,
That's right.
my neighbor,
Yep.
you know, I wouldn't wanna say it about my neighbor.
But they could also, instead of going to a meeting, could you have it where they could just come to the office
Yeah, I would think you
and say
could,
that?
yeah.
You would get a lot more
A writ-
response.
A written complaint.
I think so, yeah, that they have to write it and at least sign their name. It doesn't have to go anywhere. But you would have, you know,
I think that would be a great idea, and then I think that complaint before a ticket would be issued or whatever you call the term.
mhm.
I
A
think
warrant, like a
that would
warning.
have to be seen by a committee, you know,
Mhm.
and we don't really have a housing committee or anything like that, but we do. I guess we got refuse and whatever, I mean, we do have that committee,
We do have one committee.
and we got 5 committees or
Oh,
something.
yeah.
But we don't use hardly any of them.
Refuge, so isn't, has that got anything to do with the clean?
Well, I don't
or is
know,
that
I'm
Just
just-
simply
I'm just saying though, I mean, you got.
liaison to the garbage people.
Unless you create another committee, but anyway, it should be reviewed by maybe the administrative committee. We do have that yet,
Yeah, there you go.
you know?
Who's on
And
that?
then that way there, that would give. That would
Direction.
take the heat off from, if you give the power to race, it
Yeah.
would take the heat off from him personally.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because it was reviewed then by the committee.
Yeah, yeah, the administrative, that'd probably be a place to put that.
That would be, it.
It would, you know, it would put it into the power of the people, you know.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, it
That's
is.
where it should be, and then, yeah,
Yeah, and then it takes the heat off from
everybody
The
else.
individual.
because we're not looking at properties and saying, and then they can't say, well, you're not doing it, you know,
Right,
Picking on people or, yeah.
it has nothing to do with it.
Oh.
Some neighbor of yours turned you in, you know? Well, I
So,
like that idea.
Mhm.
this kind of pertains to junkyards, but when you have a big ornament in your front yard that doesn't contribute any beauty, how do you handle that?
I would think though, this could be at least handled to start with that way, this way.
The neighbor.
Because if you had neighbors, it would take more than one neighbor, but you know, if that was an instance. And you drummed up the support.
Yep.
Of the other neighbors and you got 6 letters, well, that would be actionable.
But then they'd have to prove, I think, well, you still have to prove that it's an eyesore. or it's
Unsightly?
Unsightly,
But
you
you wouldn't though, because the neighbors are saying it is.
The
They-
property
but then
owners.
does it
The
become,
property owners.
the spin of that is then doesn't it become, and what is that called, when residents can take. The area residents around a property can take that property owner to a small claims court or something
Yeah.
because they're saying it devalues their property.
Yep, yeah.
So
and
then it
this-
would still come out of the city's hands and it would be put into those residents to,
It could be, but I mean, at least it could start there.
yeah,
And people wouldn't always keep saying, well, you do nothing, you do nothing.
Mhm.
We did do something. The committee looked at it, agreed, sent them the letter with the penalty on it, the $100 for the first shot or whatever they say it's
Yeah.
gonna be.
Mhm.
And if nothing happens, then those neighbors can go and take it to the next step.
That letter there had 3 steps, right? 100, 200?
Yeah.
300?
Yeah,
yeah,
Yep.
yep.
something like
You
that.
know, and after a while, maybe and
Yeah.
again, but will they pay it? You put it on the water bill. And if they do not pay that portion of the water bill, do you have the power to shut the water off?
I think you have the power to put it on the taxes
Put
though,
it into abatement.
and they don't have the power to not pay it on the taxes.
Right?
You know?
Yeah, I think that would have,
Once it hits that.
that would be, have to be separate from the water sewer.
It's like,
Yeah, I don't think you could shut it off for that. You can shut the water off for that.
It'd have to be a separate.
Yeah.
But it could still be a line item on the utility billing.
I think it'd be smarter not to put it on the utility billing at all.
Yeah, maybe not.
why
I
it
don't
is
know.
a city bill.
Where do you? Cause we put, right now we put gravel. We
But
put the
that's-
$25 gravel
That's,
on,
that's a commodity you're selling, not
Okay.
a penalty.
not a penalty.
Yeah, how would you handle getting that penalty?
You just have to send once. You'd have to, anybody involved, attorney, you'd have to send a
Yep.
letter from the.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, it does, there's no easy way to do it.
Yes, there is. If they would just clean it up,
I know.
that's all they gotta do. We're not asking them to paint the house.
One man's
Clean up.
junk is another man's treasure.
Treasure, yeah.
That's just like that poor guy up there by the shop building them two nice buildings. That's gonna be nice when he's done.
Mhm.
But that gal has got so much junk around. They can't hardly work anymore and they don't come out of the house. They don't answer the phone. They don't answer the door, nothing.
Yeah,
And it is just literally a mess up there. And they thought they were moving out November, but nobody's, nothing.
yeah, they might have more trouble there than they think, especially now it's cold.
Yep. Mhm.
Not that that has anything to do with it, but.
Somebody was telling me that whoever, the aunt or the grandma or whatever, gave me, what, a year? Or to give him a year, so I don't know if that's.
No, no.
That's what he had said in that meeting. He presented the first meeting that he was here with council. He had said, you know, however long it would take for it, well, you know,
She didn't wanna just oust them out of there.
yeah, and that's what he said.
Okay, so then.
Takes him a while or whatever.
Since that's come in and these buildings are on both sides and now the mess is all right down the middle, would they be out of compliance then? No.
I don't know.
That's zoned for business though, or that's.
But not
business.
junk.
No, but I don't know what the ordinance states with that. I don't know, cause that's different than your residential mess.
But that house is gonna be raised here shortly. Once she's out of there, it's gonna be raised and that's
Yep.
for the
Yep,
third building.
Be another shed there.
Yep.
Yep,
But first they gotta get out.
that's right.
You're going back to this now. I'll tell you what happens in South Bend, Indiana, because my daughter lived there. She had sunflowers planted in her backyard and they went above her fence. That's not legal in South Bend. You gotta have everything below the fence.
And the
She
fence
got-
has
she
a
got-
height limit? Up
Yeah.
6 foot?
Whatever, I don't,
Yeah.
yeah,
What's their reason for it?
yeah, unsightly.
Oh, it's unsightly.
It's unsightly when you drive down the street.
Hmm.
And so she got a letter. It had a $200 fine if she didn't take care of it. And give her 90 days or 30 days or whatever it was to get them cut down, or they'll come in and do it and it'll be an extra so much more for it. Done deal. That's all it was to it. You know what I mean? There was no arguing. There was nothing to it. If she wouldn't have done it, she was confident they would have come and done it. You know what I mean? There was no fooling around.
Mhm.
That's the way they work. The other thing is in South Bend is that you can put a large item out once or twice a month. In other words, you can put a mattress out, a TV out, for free, and it's picked up for nothing. And that helps keep things cleaned up.
During the year.
You might consider something like, rather than just have that cleanup. It's all prearranged, you know, with the garbage people, whoever. And you actually call in and tell them that you got something out, but it's free. You can couch or whatever you want to put out there. You want to put a garage door out there, you can put it out there. You know what I mean?
I actually think that's a good idea.
That isn't a bad
I
idea.
thought that was really kind of a neat idea, you know, that people can take advantage of that don't have any way of hauling stuff away. You know,
I
Did
think
you
it's,
say how much, how often? Once?
it was once or twice a month,
Oh, oh, per month, okay.
per month. It was per month.
Yeah.
Which I thought, boy, that's really a pretty good service. Not free though. That would be costly, you know, to the city.
So how would you handle that on a refuge bill? You know, right now, we're charging that citizen X amount of dollars to dump that Kirby. So say 3 people how would you say, just really abuse it, you know? But we know they're cleaning up the yard. That added cost would all be paid by the city, right?
Yep,
Mhm.
yep, and it would be added to everybody's bill.
Yep.
Which
So-
I think would be a nice service for Good Thunder to offer, but on the other hand, I don't think that the properties that we're talking about think they have garbage.
That could be part of it, you know?
But how much did cleanup cost this year?
It wasn't much.
No. It wasn't much,
Like
but see,
500
again, they don't like to have to load this up.
I
and
don't.
Haul it down there.
I
They want it done right at their curb.
Yeah.
So you gotta factor in when we were doing curbside pickup, that went over pretty well.
Oh, yeah,
You guys had what?
Yeah.
4 or 5 loads on
Yeah.
a Saturday?
yeah. Yeah.
So if you did that throughout the year, but with them, we also had cleanup days, the city paid that as a city, right?
Yeah.
So we didn't pack it on to the other
No.
people. So.
Directly, they are paying.
They are. I mean,
Yeah.
it's all being paid out of the city, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it wasn't just directly charged in the refuse fund.
Spring cleanup cost us $854.09 this year.
854.
854.
Wow.
Oh, nothing, yeah.
And before that's been up to what, 35?
We can ask and work with them to do curbside, but we have to start that process a lot quicker.
We should do that now.
And maybe that's something we want to work with Jesse on, is how do we get you to do curbside? I know it's manpower and it's more expensive for them, but if we can do that,
How would that work though, Tom? Say, somebody does, like you said, they could put an overhead garage door out there.
Mhm.
Would they send an extra person out that time to help that guy get that loaded?
Probably not, but they must, I guess I don't know that answer, they must though, because the average person can't pick up a couch.
And that, and besides, you can't take and do that on them pickups that dump here. You have to have a rear
Oh,
end
yeah, it would have to be a different truck.
compactor.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
It's a separate deal, it's a separate route. I can see it being done with like a grapple, you know.
So just say you offer that service once a month. That they'll come out with a rear end one. And the fourth Monday or whatever day you choose, you can have this out and you provide that 12 months. Do you think that'd be better than a one-time cleanup?
I think the one-time cleanup would still be necessary.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
mhm,
I do.
I would just say maybe like every other month and say, you want to get rid of a mattress, okay, have it out, you call it in. But everybody, you know, a minimal charge, just there, that way there's buy-in with the community, you know, it cost me $20. But to take a mattress to Ponderosa, I think that's gonna be what, 50, 45, whatever.
Whatever, yeah.
Or a couch, I mean,
But they're not gonna do that, John, if you know, they know the city's gonna offer free cleanup in the spring.
I would do,
but right now, we're not doing, I mean, they can't do mattresses and couches, do they? With the spring cleanup,
I don't think they take mattresses in spring cleanup.
no, they do couches.
they do couches, I know they do
I
tires.
think they do furniture, but I don't think.
But I mean, like tires, they have to pay, they have to come in and pay us 40.
Appliances, tires.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't they take mattresses? Cause you can't bury them or what?
Because it's such a huge charge at the landfill or anywhere. Anywhere you take a mattress, it's mixed in with your load.
Yeah.
They hit you like $100 a mattress.
Oh, really?
Because they gotta dig around in the garbage to get it out, all that, yeah.
So what do they do with them?
Grind them up. They're recycled down it by,
Well, like that mattress man in Mankato, do they accept old mattresses then?
some do.
Yeah.
You gotta pay for it usually as
Yeah.
when you know, yeah. Some homes, I can't, done by, God damn it, I can't think of what that.
Is that out there in North Mankato by Four Seasons? Or is
No,
that all North Mankato recycling stuff?
no, this is an outfit down on the Wisconsin border
Oh.
on I-90. I can't think what the heck the name of the city is down there. But that's where they go. They're hauled all the way down there.
Lacrosse?
Lacrosse, yeah. Lacrosse. Somewhere is right down in the Lacrosse area. There's an
Really?
outfit that does it. That's about the only place that I've ever heard of.
So if they get a bunch in that building there at the landfill, then
Yeah.
they're putting in an area and then they're hauled down there.
Yeah, they're put in a
Oh,
semi trailer and pulled down there, couple loads a week.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
This is our big problem. Big problem.
Mhm. I would say so.
When the incinerator take care of them, pretty good shape.
I would start by curbside pickup again and twice a year, honestly. I mean,
Well, I'll start working with Jesse and see if we can get something
And that would be
going,
better.
cause that was a contract issue.
Would it be once a quarter maybe? Because
Even that, you know, I mean, just something to, you just don't want it to be where it's costing the city $500 to bring the truck out and nobody does
that's
anything.
right.
Right.
But I don't think, as long as that baby's curbside, you're gonna have to worry about that. Cause they will drag it out to
oh
the
yeah,
curb,
there was always
but
possible.
they won't take it down there.
No, I won't either.
Well, I think some people don't have the ability.
Right.
They don't have a vehicle. I know Brian hauled a couple of things for other people because they didn't have vehicles to get them down there.
Yeah, if I have
That's
the
true.
ability to get it down there, I have the ability to get it to the Ponderosa myself.
Right.
But
Oh,
I would start by getting it back to curbside because people get rid of a lot of junk on junk day.
Mhm.
they
And,
did.
and even twice a year, that'd be something to look forward to. Like if I missed it this time, I got, spring coming up or whatever.
Spring and fall, yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah,
at least spring and fall.
yeah.
And it isn't that the city doesn't want to pay the costs, it's the fact that the contractor just doesn't want to do the work.
Mhm.
And I guess if that keeps going, the contractor might have to change,
Yeah.
I don't know when this contract is up, I have no idea, but that's what it's gonna take. Someone will do it,
Mhm.
I don't care, someone will do it.
Someone will do
How
it.
many other opportunity or other avenues do you have in that kind of business right now?
There must be a half a dozen, I
Oh, really?
suppose,
Okay.
maybe altogether. But someone will do it, some company will do it. So.
Yeah, I think, it's gotta be brought back so it gets to the curb.
Mhm.
So we make every attempt to try to get some of this stuff cleaned up.
Yeah.
Which they might be confused when they get to some places, like,
Not a bad.
It is a problem. You're
what's the,
right.
what's the curb and what's not?
Oh, you're right. I've been there. It's right over there.
Right up to the house. Take it right up to the house, nice and clean and neat.
And haven't even had to call, it's just like, what do we take? Or we take anything? It's
The
just-
curb
oh, wow.
pickup, we
You,
had the stipulation, not construction debris.
We did, yeah, yeah.
Otherwise, people are gonna remodel their house and it's all gonna sit out there for
But I keep
who
going,
knows how long.
I keep going back to the time that, remember John Willis put out the old jail? We took it because that was okay then yet.
Yeah.
Where do you think that would be if we hadn't have took it that day?
sitting right there.
You darn right it would have been.
Didn't you go to the house, 2 houses north of Sarah Carroll's as a company and clean up there one time?
Yep.
You did, right?
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah, it was
recall why
out the
was that? What was there that was?
It was meat that they had put outside. And moved away, left, whatever. It was a whole bunch of junk.
Yeah, it was a lot of
But,
junk.
but amongst it was meat.
Just cleaned out their freezer and threw it in the yard.
It was bad.
Yeah.
It was a bad, that was a neighbor thing that was turned in. Carl helped with that. Carl.
There you go, yeah.
He was there and the family came just before we got done and they were. Cause everything that was outside went in the garbage truck and there was bikes and toys and.
Oh, well.
furniture and everything, but. They had plenty of notice. It isn't like it was a surprise, you know what I mean? They knew. Well, that's why they showed up late.
Right now, I don't know how you would ever handle this, but right now there's 2 properties in this town that have downed trees in them and branches. And one property down by the school that grows up across the street from the school, the weeds growed up through the tree, this fall this summer.
Yeah.
I think that one's gotten a letter a couple times already.
And then you go up here on Chapel Street,
Mm-hmm,
trimmed about our trees, 6 weeks ago?
at least.
All laying in the front yard.
Mhm.
Well, that can't. How do you make this go away.
The grass growing up, you can get the grass.
There's no grass in that yard.
Yeah, that one ain't got grass. So I mean, do you just start sending him, that individual, a letter and say, you know, you got 30 days? Or the 32nd day, the city will be in there and clean it up and it'll be another additional charge.
Well, we do have that. The city has that power to do that.
Because that's gonna stay there now,
Mhm.
because that's one of them that he might live there for 2 weeks and gone for 8. And back for a week and gone for 4. That's quite the arrangement.
Well, we do have that. I mean, the city has the power to abate nuisance properties. And that's probably an easy one because it's just, I don't know how much value there is in the free tree
Yeah,
branches,
yeah,
you know what I mean? But the other ones that we're talking about, they can claim that there's value in all this stuff that's laying around.
Then it should be put in the house. It's got value. You don't want nobody to steal it.
And you take it and you abate that problem and make the property look better, but you better be storing, then you gotta store all the stuff, just like Mapleton's been doing with that one property for 3 or 4 years already now. And they've been storing this stuff. And the guy, you know, you drive by there now again and it looks just as bad. He did it again. You know, I mean, it's just,
How long do they have to store it? You'd think they would only have to store it for,
I don't know.
Certain amount of years they have to store it for.
Yeah, it's
Years.
quite a long
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
He sued, the guy in Mapleton sued, didn't he? That's how they ended up storing all that crap.
Yeah.
Something, I don't know.
Something went wrong there. And then you got the city of Wells to try to clean up the property and then they got hit with a race suit,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So, I mean, there's no easy answer. This seems like the easiest answer. We send them a letter, but that's administrative penalty or whatever. And that starts it. They either pay it or clean it up, or it goes to the next step, $200. Pay it, clean it up, or it goes to the next step, $500. Then it gets turned over to the attorney and he takes it from there.
But then chances are they're not gonna pay them fines. They're gonna just sit there and bleed it out. And then it'll get to the end and we'll be at the same spot. You clean it up, then you gotta store it.
Well, that's where you end up. That is where you end up.
So you go all the way around that circle to end up at the same spot.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, pretty
You
much.
still got mess.
Yeah, you still got the mess for all that time.
Oh,
It
God.
all goes through all the whole legal hoops and everything.
if it's not an owned property, if it's a rented property, and then it would go on the owner versus the rental property.
Right.
Correct.
Right, unless the renter is a family member, then all the rules go away.
And that's what about two or
But isn't it
three
still
of
the
these?
landlord, ultimately the landlord's responsibility though? Because the landlord's the one that's still paying those property taxes.
And the water bill, if the water bill's not paid, that.
Well, these water bills are in the residents' names, they're not in the landlord names. And that was probably done, I don't know how many years ago.
Wow. Well, we better keep moving
Yeah.
on. We've got a half hour on the first page. We've got some good ideas that carry through.
And then the committees, you know, like the committees and stuff like that, I think all of our committees are used. Don't we? I mean, not regularly or anything, but they're there for a reason,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, we got streets and parks and water and sewer and
But what are the rules, what are those committees responsible for? So,
If you as an employee especially have a question, instead of waiting till a council meeting, you can just call them up and just say, what do you think?
okay.
That's kind of the point of it, you know?
Oh,
Give a
is
little
that on
direction.
the website or is it
And-
You
public
don't
knowledge?
necessarily need to meet.
No,
and it's for race too. If he
Yeah.
has a water shut off issue or a street issue,
yeah,
he has 2 people in this council to come to and say, hey, down in corner, front and minor, there's this. What do you think?
see, and 2 people can get together and meet with him legally, 3 can't.
Right.
He calls me quite a bit.
Yeah,
Hey, are you around town? Blah, blah, blah. Then he called last week and asked if I could pick him up.
On committees, we do need to get rid of the police committee though.
Yeah, because it's all handled by the sheriff, right?
Yeah.
And then,
We have water, sewage, garbage committee, street, sidewalks, alleys committee, recreation, parks committee, personnel committee, police committee, and administrative committee.
yeah. And then I would say too, that the next page there, that order of business and all that. Maybe that's. Add and use that revised language. I didn't realize that. The code. As it is. Does not allow for public comment. Verbal public comment. I never knew that. That's always been it's always been on the.
Yeah.
But it says the
agenda.
code would require a public via petition, so
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
would have to petition it, they would have to come up here prior to.
yep, write a little note or
Yep,
letter or
to be able
something.
to get added. I mean, I've had residents do that, asked if they could be put on the agenda or something, but
Yeah,
But I mean, can we keep doing it the way we are? Only thing is then down here below, it says 72 hours before the meeting.
I don't like that either.
I don't either because, say somebody
Yeah.
goes, oh man, I gotta get a building permit because I want to do that this weekend or, before the council meeting. And they come in Monday morning, council meeting's Monday night.
they're not, if you look at the requirements for the building permit, it has to be so many days before the meeting. They can't send it in Monday morning and have it put on the agenda.
Well, I think county's like a month.
Mhm.
If you miss
It's
that,
like 3 days.
Well, that's 72 hours here then.
Yeah, is that what that is?
Yep, 72
And that's
hours.
for a building permit.
Yeah.
That's not for anything else.
This is for everything. The way this is written. Anything to be on the agenda at all has to have 72-hour notice. Which I agree, I still don't like that idea. I mean, I think that. If there's somebody that has some business before council, they should be able to just come and talk at the council meeting.
Well, they kind of do,
Yeah,
yeah.
Well,
well,
just
they
say,
can't according to our existing code. According to Kennedy here,
they'd have to be on the agenda to speak,
Yeah.
right? Or, but that gets back to where we offer that.
Laid out in the code. I guess I've never looked at the code for the,
There is no public comment on in the current code.
so we just need to add it.
Call to order, approval minutes, public hearing, presentation of petitions and complaints
Isn't that what that?
reports of officers, boards and committees, unfinished business, notices and communications, presentation of claims, new business, miscellaneous and announcements. So there is no community comment in current one.
right, right, but I
so
think
we print it in here.
we can continue to do it
Yeah.
I don't see a problem.
in the interim, but that should be addressed in the code.
So
when
we should
change the
just
rest of
add
it.
that into what's already in the code versus going with what he's got here.
Yeah.
Just add it to the code we've already got.
Yeah,
Add this whole thing to it, but maybe have leniency.
well,
Yeah, I think we take
Yeah.
what he suggested and make that the current,
yeah, that's what I'm thinking too, just what he suggested here.
because we don't have pledge of allegiance, moment of silence on in the code currently. It's just called to order approval of minutes.
Yeah,
Then the termination of a quorum, we don't have. Then it goes to,
That would only fall under if there's only two people showed up
right,
Mhm.
at night, right?
Right.
Yeah.
yeah, because 3 is a quorum.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Planning Commission. In my opinion, we should just eliminate it.
We are,
Yeah.
because there's no community involvement. We had it there for a very short time. But then it went by the wayside and there is no community involvement.
exactly what I said to eliminate.
Yep. Personnel policy, did you guys read that there, that?
Yeah, I see that.
That a second member to be from the community at large?
I don't like that idea.
No, I don't like that idea. either.
No, I mean, if you had a corrective, discipline, I have a hell of a time with that word.
Disciplinary.
There you go, thanks, Dan. if you had an issue, you wouldn't want anybody from the public serving on that.
No, I don't like that idea at all.
You know, it's gotta be in-house and confidential.
Yeah, so I
agree.
think we just leave it the way it is. Guys would be doing fine with that, I think.
Because we changed it back to two, so in our code it already has two. It
Yeah, never got
to a
changed, no,
both. Okay,
because that all comes in play with the former individual.
And then like police department and all that. I guess that sounds okay. We just end it. We don't want to eliminate it in case someday you have to go back to having a police department. But you
God
can just
forbid.
amend it that you can.
You wouldn't like a police department?
Pardon?
You wouldn't like a police department?
If you could get an individual, what was Frederick's name?
Kyle? No.
No,
Carl?
Tony? No. I'm running through them all in my head here.
he worked here under.
Yeah.
Who was the last cop?
Carl? No.
Oh.
He worked under the
Tri-Cities for a very short time.
Tri-City, yeah.
There was a Freilich.
Yeah.
If he could have been our police chief, we could have had your own police department. He was the top notchest person that could have had that job, and he was under the other guy. And it didn't work.
Oh.
That when we had that, what was his name, Tom? He'd come in here in the morning, get the car, and that car was never in Good Thunder for 8 more hours.
Oh,
Then he came back home and it was done. No. We spent a lot of money and got absolutely zero, nothing.
Yeah, we did. That was bad.
Oh, yep.
And the cost wise to have your own nowadays is just
Yeah.
astronomical.
too much.
I think I'm assuming county jail, we'd have to pay a fee to you because we still have, that's still the jail. So you'd have to have people transport. I'm sure we get charged for that. I don't know. It's just,
It, to me,
it's,
I mean, just I guess it was last week, a day or two. Sheriff was sitting right by Lee Hillers as the bus was loading up kids. You see that during the month, on and off, all the time.
All the time.
When you had this one, I battled so many things with that. We couldn't know a schedule because he don't set a schedule. Yeah, you did. You came in here at 8 o'clock, you were back home here by 5 o'clock every day like clockwork. It was right here in town and you didn't get that service.
Yeah.
You didn't get that.
Okay, I didn't know.
Oh.
It was a frustrating time. And you know, there's only Eagle Lake now uses the sheriff department.
Mhm.
And what is there, Mapleton and Lake Crystal now is all that's left.
And Amboy uses Mapleton,
Yeah.
which I don't know why Mapleton would be involved in running that, 12 miles back and forth, wearing out their vehicle. That was no different in Tri-Cities.
I know it. I don't know either, but in any case,
Our sheriff's department does a very good job, I believe.
I do too.
I don't think I've never gotten one complaint.
No.
no.
Nope.
Yeah, all the worries that I had anyway when we hired them was that's not been true. You know, the
They've been
worries that
here.
they'd be over, you know, like really in here, you know. Going crazy. They haven't, not at all. So
And that is
very good.
when we had a former employee there was a little favoritism by one of the deputies and was it the new sheriff came out that night? Or that, yeah, individual was the sheriff, right? And he says, anything else? New liaison, done,
Yep.
done. Wasn't no questions asked, just done.
But yeah, I think we should just amend it to allow for the hiring and appointment of
I do,
sheriff. And then we can just keep the language there in case, I doubt it will ever happen, but in case it did.
Yeah.
So FEMA,
I always thought you were the.
that's what I thought.
I'm sure I've seen a policy someplace.
I thought that if there was a storm come in here or had to answer, that, you know, you had an area you worked out of, but you kind of took control of the situation.
The mayor, I always thought was the emergency, I mean,
it is because we just went through that whole emergency thing with, what was the guy, who's the guy, Blue Earth County?
Eric?
Yes, Eric Weller. We went through that whole thing this summer with the emergency pack and all that kind of stuff. And Robert is listed on that.
So I thought.
So it is the mayor.
I don't know.
So we
Maybe
need
in
to-
our code.
So well, just let him know that and.
Maybe we should check our code. Maybe it does say that.
Maybe it just need, maybe we just need to add it to the code.
So anyway, I think we can get by that. We talked about police department.
Under recreational vehicles here, it talks about snowmobiles. Well, that to me is nothing anymore. How about the side by sides and the four wheelers? We've had some passed in the last couple summers of some little mini bikes. Golf carts.
Even
wheels.
single wheeled vehicles.
Yeah.
There, I know when we had our ordinance committee, they were talking about we needed to put it to the number of wheels
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
because that can be an issue.
yeah.
we could just put recreational motorized vehicles.
That would get about everything when it would.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know, that's kind of vague.
is it big?
That's my opinion.
Oh, we could.
That little
we could
dirt
list-
bikes popping willies flying down Holiday all weekend.
You were out again?
Wasn't me.
No.
I can't get mine on one wheel.
we could
Two.
list each, I mean, motorcycles, mini bikes.
One wheeled, because they were talking about the truck. Remember, we were talking about the mini truck thing.
Yeah,
That's how that came about.
yeah, they make,
And people with these little electric, they're not even motorized, they could be electric.
Yep, electric, and I don't think that they're kind of lenient on that electric stuff. Well, they used to be.
They were electric mini bikes or something.
Oh, there's those electric,
You can get-
unicycles.
Yeah,
Whatever, yeah.
them electric, you stand on it, got a handle, you used to use one foot. to-
Scooters.
Scooters, yeah, there you go, yeah.
Yep,
This probably doesn't fall in under this area. I don't know where we could put it, but enclosed trailers, that people may have sitting on the street or in front of their house for maybe months at a time. Where would you take any action about something like that?
well, in our ordinances, it does say that they can't, nothing can be parked on
24
the
hours.
street. Yeah,
Yeah.
campers or
Right.
anything, but remember the big hoo-hoo we had over? you know? So, I mean, that's something that does need to be discussed. I've always thought that there should be a way to write it that, there's different classes of streets. A parking something on Main Street is different than parking something on
That's true.
over here, because
Yeah.
it's so much narrower,
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, so there should be some way a person can write, hi, Brian.
Come on, Brian.
Hello, everybody. A lot of towns. Like, you got a camper, then you're allowed to keep it there, 24 hours?
Yeah,
And,
or make up a number,
right,
68 hours, whatever, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
but there's some sort of a time limit, you know what I mean?
you want us to wait outside or?
no, it's all
No,
right.
no, that's right. We're just discussing stuff that's no fun.
Hopefully we're a little more entertaining.
So on this next stuff, general regulations, just, take on what he prescribes here.
Well, yes, I guess you have to, there's gotta be, I think we invent the wheel. There's gotta be somebody out there that has this already laid out that. What they accept is. Okay to leave out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Again, junk to one guy is a treasure to another.
Yeah,
But I mean, it gets to be an eyesore and we have a half a dozen around town that it never changes and it never will change. I don't know if you could find them enough to make a change. And I guess at one time, Tom, when we were talking to them people, they didn't even know what part of the place was a mess.
no, that's exactly right.
And we asked them to put the stuff in the shed and they said, well, the shed's full. And it was piled up against the shed. So I mean.
I wonder what he means there by the city should also adopt a policy. Oh, okay, I see what he means there. We talked about that already. All right.
I was just looking at the Brainerd one. I'm assuming this is Brainerd. And it talks about the nuisance parking and storage. It obstructs the view and from the street. Private property creates clutter. Prevents full use of residential streets.
Mhm,
So
So we
I
have,
wonder if we can just interject that verbiage.
mhm. That makes sense.
so that would include that one camper that I mentioned to you, Sue, that sat in the same driveway for the last 2 years or plus, that the individual really doesn't care what the city does with it, or,
I would think so. However, that's another one of those that we've already brought that to the attorney. And the attorney's opinion is we can have it towed, but then the city's got to pay for it and store it until.
so if the city would ever write that individual letter stating, you say you no longer wanna have this. And would you write the title, turn the title, sign the title over to the city? Could you eliminate it that
Well, yeah,
way?
you could.
Yeah,
You know,
offer him $100 for it, he'd probably take it.
yeah, but then.
As a resident, you could do that, not as a.
So I mean, how would you, I mean, would we have to go through the lawyer to see if we're gonna get into the camper business just to eliminate the problem?
Yeah, you would.
Well, I mean, how are you gonna find out if you
I
don't?
mean, unless, you know,
Pardon?
If you just bring it to BR or BNR or whatever. You have to give the BNR the title or,
like you said, if you did that personally, offered $100, and it's yours, you can do anything you want with it.
Correct.
So what kind of can of worms would that open up for a whole bunch of other stuff? Hey, I got this
One pilot,
building out here that I don't want. You give me $50 for it, it's yours. So then we gotta go in and move this outhouse, chicken house, whatever it is.
as a resident. As a resident.
Yeah. But you know, sometimes maybe that $100 and that $50 would be very well spent.
Oh, yeah.
Because you
Absolutely.
could have how many letters to the lawyer back and forth and burn up $500 and geez, you could have just took a shortcut and $100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the city can't do it that way. City has to go through all the other hoops.
Yeah.
But as a resident, you have that ability.
So you got $100 bill in your pocket?
I do.
you just have to get it to the neighbor if you get it there.
Robert's got
How
it
many
in
things are gonna buy
property.
tonight? So, yeah, I mean, because it's, we all know, well, I don't know if you all know where that is. It isn't very far from Amy. It's kind of a hindrance in the wintertime for snow.
Yeah.
It's never gonna move. It hasn't moved in at least 2 years, maybe working
Oh,
on
it's
3.
been like, it's been there since I've lived in this town and I've been here 4 years.
Holy cow.
But
Okay.
I don't know if in that Brainerd language, it says, hinders.
But it's not, we
And
had the conversation with the right of way and I remember talking to Kennedy about the right of way issue. And I don't know if it's actually in the right of way. It's right on the edge of it.
That it hinders.
There's no receiver hitch on it anymore, though, so maybe it's got another 6 inches.
It hinders snow removal though.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Don't you?
Well, you talk to the lawyer and you see how you can figure that out.
That's a good idea. Better do that. That's a good idea.
the campers in the driveway. No, other way.
We're down to this,
Enforcement.
You know what camper I'm talking about now?
No, I have to take. I'll
The
have to take a
permanent
look.
camper there.
as far as the rental, or you on land usage yet?
And I've often wondered if,
Oh, enforcement, there you go, there you go.
Really?
I think so.
The police department won't do that, right?
Correct.
So do what he said.
Well, or I don't like their designee. I would like to put councils. City councils designee. It's for the same reason we just talked about earlier.
This,
Yeah.
revert back to that administrative committee.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
make that change there, then, yep.
That whole other deal here about the rental business, that doesn't,
Did you hear from them people?
They got letters or they're I didn't hear if
What?
they got it up here. I'm assuming they did. Up at the apartments.
The inspections, you mean?
Yeah, did
Yeah.
they get their letter stating that everything was up to?
I
snuff?
got them all.
Oh,
I
you
don't know if the
got them.
city did, or I don't know if the tenants did.
But I mean, the individual was here last
Yes,
meeting.
yes, I took care of that because I called and I finally got a response and I got them and then sent hers what she was requesting.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
So any different modifications to that or?
I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with what we're doing. I mean, it isn't perfect, but at the same time, it's,
There's some value of having somebody look at it to
Yeah.
make it in or out of compliance.
yeah,
And that's what we have him to do.
yep.
And I mean, what would happen if they quit providing that? Then what would a guy do?
Find someone else.
Yeah. Cause again, we don't wanna have a city inspector of our own, right?
Oh. Can't afford one.
No.
I didn't know that our code didn't allow political science. It's been forever, so. So I would say just change that code. Whatever.
And Race is the zoning administrator.
Yeah.
Did that say that on his application or job description?
I think it
I
does.
think it does.
I think it does, yeah. 'Cause, we've mentioned that numerous times that he
Overseeing.
is the zoning administrator.
He signs off on the zoning permit.
Yep.
And he still needs to be given more. Sure. You know, if it's a cut and dry deal, he should just sign the permit. And give the person the permit. Doesn't have to come to council. Council is just affirming the
I
fact.
thought the ordinance stated it had to be approved at council.
I don't think so.
I know we've had this
It does approve-
conversation
it does.
many
It is
times.
approved. It is approved at council, but he still gives the approval to go ahead and begin construction.
Okay, so he can
Yeah.
give the initial to go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
And then it just gets approved.
But if
by
he has a
council.
question, or there's some contention, or there's some
Yep.
property line problems or whatever that he can see, then he can put it off on council. To make that decision. But so many of them are just cut and dry, you know, they're 30 feet from the backyard, and
Right.
whatever, they don't affect anything. I mean, there's no reason why you can't sign that permit and have it over with.
We only got a couple minutes left, but you remember the problem with the line, you know? There's been a lot of houses trading, changing ownerships, you know? Do we need to make sure that people know where their property lines are?
I wouldn't hurt.
As I mean, that last one down here, they built on there. Was it easement or right of way? One or the other. That got built on by what, 3 of the neighbors?
Yeah.
So if those houses ever went up for sale, in reality, there's 15 feet there that is not
One,
going with that house.
actually, one of them houses on.
Is for sale now.
You know, I
Yep.
just saw that the other night.
So how do you, before it ever creates another problem? I mean, I know another house or two that might be going up for sale. Do you have to find where these property lines are?
In the model communities, you do have to.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I would think, I just sold a property, it was in the country, but it turns out the property line, their garage, their driveway wasn't on their property. Both owners knew it, but it, you know, they lived there for 20 years, didn't care. But now my new buyer did care.
Yeah.
So we were in the works of getting an easement. Well, halfway through, he decided that landowner decided to sell the whole property. So he got 2, you know, but it was a big deal. I mean, we know
Yeah.
it. I mean, if you know it, you can tell when you look on county lines. That's not perfect. It's not you know, a survey, but you can tell kind of. I mean, if there's a garage or a building, you can tell that. I mean, if you're a realtor or somebody else, you want that taken care of because you don't want any of that coming back on you.
Right.
yep. Yeah, and you'd know about that because you deal with that a lot.
Yeah, but there are some, I guess, like you guys are talking about, that don't. They just buy, sell, and nothing ever gets. But for me, and you know, anybody on my team, we wouldn't sell it without some approval or like acknowledgement, like all parties acknowledge this is, you know,
Well, like that property is for sale now, then do we have to take and notify that realtor that that should be surveyed out? Because there's a sign there, right? It's got, yep,
I don't
Would
think that
you-
would hurt.
right?
I don't think that would hurt to, you know,
You know,
if they
because-
don't know.
If somebody comes in and gonna buy that property and they say, oh, man, we got a big backyard. Well, there's 15 feet that isn't yours. So should they be made aware of that?
I would want to be made aware of it if I was the buyer.
Yeah.
Is there something the city could do to put an ordinance that they have to have it surveyed?
Well, you know, if we find some that are in a big discrepancy, it sure would be nice to be able to do that.
But then
Surveys.
they can get it surveyed, but they don't have to record it. I read that somewhere. I don't remember where I read it. Because they can have it surveyed, but that doesn't mean they have to give the survey to the next property owner.
Well, maybe we can do a little research on it and bring it back to the next council meeting.
I think for the cost and then to certify
Right.
it or whatever, there's another cost, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Well, we better get moving on for a regular meeting. Somebody want to make a motion to adjourn our ordinance update meeting? Tom made it, someone a second? Second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thanks, everybody. Okay, we can open up our regular scheduled meeting. First thing is stand for pledge of allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. Thanks, everybody. Okay, approval of agenda, different correction, if not, make a motion to approve. Someone a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Approval of the October 8th meeting, council meeting, additions, corrections to that.
There's just one thing I noticed on the second page when we're talking about Bolton and Mink. Where it says there will be 10,000 withholding in the phosphorus. I think that should say there should be a $10,000 contingency withheld. Right, because it makes it kind of sound like we're just arbitrarily holding back 10 grand, but we're not, but it's just for contingency. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Like a retainer.
Yeah, it is. I think that they use the term withholding, but it's not really, you're right.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
With that noted, anything else? If not, somebody make a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Someone second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Okay, approval of bills. Checks 18,278 to 18,299 and electronic transfers from 567.53 to 567.64. And another electronic transfer from 500.131 to 500.136. Any questions on any of that? Oh. If not, somebody make a motion to approve.
So moved.
Someone second,
Second it.
all in favor? Aye, opposed, motion carried. Community comment. Anybody wishing to address the council would be, no?
This is ISG.
Oh,
So I don't know if you want them to go now or you want to put them at where they're at.
Oh, we
I
maybe,
kind of left them there because I kept moving them around.
we
They'd
can,
probably rather go now.
yeah, we'll leave them where they're at then.
Okay.
Anybody else?
I have a quick question about the potential that you hold tennis courts and stuff down there. I know you guys throw out some ideas of pickleball courts and other things. How are we gonna gauge, what we're gonna do with that, or who's gonna decide that?
Well, you know, John come up with an idea there that the whole ball diamond, chances are, is gonna have to go under a whole change. Because there's no school that would utilize it anymore. There's no softball teams that gonna utilize it anymore. You have a baseball diamond down there or a softball diamond that is not ever probably gonna get used anymore. So, you know, you could maybe now change it all up, you know, to have a pickleball court in that area, a tennis court in that area, because where it is now is a very wet spot. You could maybe, I mean, with the pickleball court, do you have to have that fenced in as a?
Yes.
Yeah, so you could you utilize and have that as a basketball court at the same time or not? Could it have? Pardon?
I think so.
Yeah,
It'd be better if it wasn't, cause unless you were to put a fence between the basketball court and the pickleball courts. So they don't, so they could both be used at the same time.
well, you know, that's another thing. How much does the city invest? And it doesn't get used. Earlier, we were talking about our cleanup, how, you know, now that people have to haul that down to the ball diamond, it doesn't go over. But if you provide that service right to the curbside, holy cow, it's utilized. How do you judge as a city council if you go down there and renovate that for $100,000 and you build a pickle court and you do a few things that's gonna get used?
We could do votes like we've done before, public involvement with votes or whatever.
But you know, it's just like everything else. Oh, yeah. Use it for a while and then wears off. And it sits in. But as far as I'm concerned, the youth are not involved in physical activity anymore. Or I see. Unless you call this physical activity, they don't do it anymore.
Yeah, we were just throwing out ideas that last time was discussed, but nothing's been, formally planned. It's something probably we'll look at again, maybe it comes getting closer to spring, because
Yeah.
nothing's gonna happen over. And we're also, what was going on with that? Something with the basketball court where that may have to be moved drainage anyway, correct?
Retention pond.
Retention pond,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah.
Mhm. Which, you know, could be an ideal spot because the city owns it already. Any other where else, well, we do have some other property, but that'd be an ideal spot. And then again, if you're not gonna use this softball diamond, you might as well just move that up onto higher ground and better drainage and everything else.
I know the pickleball courts in Mankato are used a ton, but I
Yeah,
don't know how Mapleton is, that's her closest.
I think Amboys are used.
Yeah,
yeah, they
I-
got one now too.
I feel like every time I've went through Amboy, like in the nicer weather, I've seen people over there surprisingly, because I mean, when they first built it, I was like pickleball and Amboy, and I think the community has like that. I don't know, I think that might be like a low maintenance thing too. So they have nets that just kind of fall down and then people pick them up when they want to play or whatever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think, some outside stuff for people to do would maybe bring the kids out. I mean, they are all out on their bikes riding around town all summer long.
Yeah,
I mean, they're a little bit too big for parks.
we don't have nothing right now to offer them.
No,
So
and they're a
maybe-
little bit too old to play at parks. They're a little bit too young to be,
Yeah.
I just don't know if that area, like you said, being a wet area. is the Perfect place for all
No,
of that.
it needs to be moved up because, I mean, I guess it would be a council decision whether this ball diamond stays the way it is or changes, right, with the times?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
You
city.
know? Does anybody here feel that the softball diamond will ever be used again?
No, but if we,
But to change anything else, I think we need to get some costs. How much it
Yeah,
costs us to
right.
put in a pickleball, basketball court? What's its useful life gonna be, and get some of those answers before we.
Did Amboy save the ball diamond out and back at all? Do you
I
know?
don't think they did.
I don't think so either.
No.
They didn't save this either.
Way
Way back there is,
No.
no, it's all gone.
That's
Uh,
About making that into housing yet, aren't they, Amy?
I haven't heard.
Well, that was the talk, so I don't know.
Like Vernon Center, I don't believe they have any.
Anything, they don't have anything.
You know, Mapleton, yeah, that's what, 3 times bigger than we are in Amboy, so they probably can justify a bulb. Well, the school will have their own though, right? But they still got that one in Townsend, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
That's busy too.
A
Yeah,
perfect place for it, which I know we've talked about. I don't know, like if buying that park from the church or whatever, you know, there's room up on that land up there.
but we got a lease here, but it sounds like in that lease, we can do whatever we want, take care of the structures or do whatever. The way it reads, right?
That was my understanding, but my understanding was that it was just gonna stay at a park the way it is. I guess if we wanted to do something different, we would have to reach back out to the church.
Yeah.
And just to make sure that we're in compliance.
All right, anybody else under community comment?
My opinion is if you did make a pickle port, it'd be better if we could put it up here, because then it's not like
It would be better.
super.
It would be, yeah,
People,
because
yeah.
it's more concentrated by houses up here versus way down there. It'd be like the garbage thing. Nobody would want to ride their bikes down, there's too far down there to go. So if you have it up here, yeah. All right, we can move on to Sheriff's Department, had 72 hours assist, civil, dog bite, paper service, welfare check, fraud, suspicious person harassment, warrant service. Fire Department, Chief Clamor, 10 calls, 1 gas leak, 1 grass field fire, 1 lift assist, 3 medical, 2 mutual aid, 1 vehicle fire, and 1 motor vehicle accident. Any questions on them? If not, we can go down to Street Department. And we got 2 building permits, so everybody look at them. That's all right with everybody. Make a motion to approve.
Make a motion to 13 and 14.
Don made motion, someone second.
One thing I just want to add to 13-24 there. Just make sure that they understand they gotta pipe that to storm,
You got a what?
pipe that to the storm sewer.
Oh,
Yeah, I think it goes, didn't he say it went right to, Grace is on here, but I don't know if you can jump in or not.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with the project, it's just, I just want to make sure that it's understood.
I thought he was gonna have it going right out to the curb, or right out
That's
to,
fine.
Above ground, right?
yeah, and then it would just go right into the storm sewer.
That's just long.
Right there, he said,
You don't want to pump it into the.
If I'm understanding that correctly.
Very great.
oh, Kellen.
Doesn't say where it's gonna be going. I just want to make sure that's understood, you know?
Yep,
So once we actually have the opportunity that we can.
You don't want it in a sanitary sewer, is what you're saying. Yeah, okay. With that said, then somebody make a motion, or you did already, John, right?
Yeah.
Somebody second on favor, say aye.
Okay.
Opposed, motion carried. Ryan Severance. Oh, maybe is Race on board? Does Race have anything? that we
he
need?
is here, but I don't know if he'll be able to talk. His daughter isn't feeling very well,
Okay,
so he'll probably pipe in whenever he can, if he can.
all right, Brian?
Hello, everybody. You got a copy of this in your packet? Did they get a copy of this?
I just,
We got one
today
here.
Robert has it.
Okay, so I'm gonna kind of go through this a little bit point by point, so you're familiar with what I'm talking about. There's no surprises here. I had the compliance evaluation from Teresa Roth and the MPC. A couple weeks ago, November 7th, actually. A lot of the things that are mentioned in here were things that I talked to the council about beforehand, but that being said, this is an 8-page document. It's a compliance evaluation inspection report from Teresa Roth to the city. It just states that I'm the certified operator and that I have a Class C license, and then there's some information here about contacts. Me and Robert Anderson and their 24-hour contact information. The rest of this is a lot of the compliance evaluation is for our record keeping, having our reports turned in on time before the 20th of each month, all of those sorts of things that are instruments are calibrated and the calibrations are recorded and documented. That I have all the required paperwork and lab reports, everything's in order. There were no non-compliance issues with any of that. So of all the parameters that they require me to be in compliance with, there was 915 of them. We had 4 limit violations, our percent of violations was 0.44%. So out of 915, we had 4. I'm gonna talk to you about what the 4 were and the reason for those. So let's see here.
Is it probably because of,
Number
it
one,
was probably because of all the water you received in earlier, so.
yeah, it's all related to June, except for the one. Our permit required an inflow and infiltration and I evaluation plan that was done. We turned that over to Bolden and Mink to have them completed. It was due in let's see. It was due on November 28th of 2022, and they didn't receive it till March of 2023. So from November to March, they were working on it. It just seemed to kind of take forever to get that through the process and to get that done. It is done now and she signed off on it, so that's not anything that we need to address. But the other 4 things, the other 3 things actually were in June of this year. When we had the historic flooding that we had to do an emergency discharge out of season, out of the permitted period. Is the permitted period is till June 15th, and we were in June, you know, after that. So for our BOD, the limit is 25 milligrams per liter, and we were at 27. We just barely missed it. Well, that doesn't count. We got to be under 25. But the fecal coliform count, which is 200, we were at 2,420. So there was no time for the pond to do its thing to eliminate the fecal coliform present in the water. So when I tested, we did have a high fecal count, as did everybody else. Our water was at least semi-treated, and everybody else around here was dumping raw wastewater into the rivers and bypassing and everything else. So, and the other thing was the phosphorus, and we've talked about this a lot. Our limit for the phosphorus is 227 kilograms per year, and we ended up at 247.6, so 20.6 kilograms for the year. So we all knew that. We were working on the phosphorus project. I've got some good news for you guys. I did take I did a discharge last week, and I took the samples over to the lab. I just got the first results I have to do it twice a week, so I got the first one today. And the phosphorus was 1.45 parts per million. So little to none.
So that's because of the treating when you transferred it.
I'm definitely sure that helped out tremendously. So I'll get the next result. I dropped that off at the lab today. And it'll take 5 days to get that report back, and we'll see. And then the average of 2, and then that gets reported in the DMR for the month. So it's working. So that brings me to this year. So this year, we may or may not make that 227 because we didn't get our treatment up and running until this last discharge. I did have the extra discharge in June because of the rain event. So we'll see. We may or may not make that 227 this year, but I would guarantee next year we'll make it. Sure.
But don't they overlook that because of the amount of rain?
Anything.
So every town that did this.
Everybody
got
can
cited.
get a letter of non-compliance for everything that they had happened in June of last summer. So, yeah, we're not alone in this. There's people in a lot worse situations than we are. To be two milligrams per liter or 2 parts per million over, it's negligible, but it's not 25, it's 27. So a little disappointing for me, but so that's that. And then everything else that I had, all good. So they assigned me three things actually that we have to do within 30 days. The first one is within 30 days of receipt of this letter, we have to submit the I&I evaluation plan. And it says this requirement has been completed, so Boilermaker did get that in. So we don't have to worry about that one. The next one is within 30 days after receipt of this letter, submit documentation of the steps the city has taken or will take to ensure compliance with permit effluent limits. And so I'll write her a letter and describe the treatment process that we have now with the phosphorus addition down at the ponds and how our results are coming back good, and that should take care of that. And then our last one is within 30 days. We have to ensure that any future effluent limit violations includes within the corresponding DMR comments section, memo or description of what was done to investigate and verify any permit effluent violations or actions. This violation was discussed during the inspection, no response is required. So what they're saying there is that if we have a month like June and the lab analysis shows that we had a limit violation, I need to write a little paragraph and add that to my monthly report that says what it was, how it was, why it was, and how we're gonna try to prevent it in the future. So easy enough. So going forward, we hopefully won't have any, but if we do, have to add a note to my monthly discharge monitoring report. So really, it was a good inspection. There wasn't anything that came up that wasn't expected, and everything that she has here is really easy to address. If you guys want a copy of this, I'm sure she can get you a copy and you can go through it yourself, but it's all really good stuff.
And that treatment that we're doing is only for the phosphorus, right?
Yes.
It doesn't do anything for the fecal chloroform or,
No, fecal is a whole other thing. You know, what takes that is just a little time in sunlight and it'll kill it. You
okay,
know, when it doesn't have any more fecal to eat, they die. You know,
okay.
hopefully your water has been able to sit long enough that's enough to do their job and they clean the water and, you know.
So how many gallons did it take to treat this discharge?
Just about 300.
300?
Yeah, and I'm treating the one I'm transferring over right now. I won't discharge that till spring. But I thought, just for good measure, I'll treat it and
Yeah,
for good results. Typically, my spring discharge isn't very high in phosphorus because
had time.
it sits there all year and all winter long, but for the faucet, 300 gallons of ferric.
Why
Just do
not?
it.
Is it worse in the winter when that pond can't breathe and it's froze over? Does that make any effect on any of it?
No,
No.
no, because the anaerobic bacteria in the bottom of the pond that really does your work and they live year round. They just kind of go a little dormant in the winter time, so.
So, yeah, we spent a lot of money to get that system up and we're still spending money to get a shed around it and all that. What did the product itself cost, you know?
I don't know,
Count?
did you get a bill for that? 1,000 gallons of ferric, I bet it was expensive.
I think.
Like-
Is it in there? It should,
I'm thinking it's probably gonna be around $3,000.
I wanna say it's in there. Who do we get it from?
Hawkins Chemical.
I think we already paid that. I don't remember if it was this month or last, must have been last month.
Typically like $3 or three something a gallon. And there was 1,000 gallons put in this.
So in other words, they'll probably do 3 discharges
Yeah.
at 300. Yeah.
Been last month.
And the phone, so it was probably in the last month though.
Compared with the misery of compliance, it's cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've never seen a number of 1.45 parts per million down there ever. That's really good.
I mean, in reality, it's about $350.
I'd say $900 to start.
900.
It's 300 gallons, that's three something a gallon.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, like you say, Tom says, now we're in compliance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it at all for next year, and if we don't have another historic flood for another 100 years and I'll be dead.
I think we'll all be in that same boat.
Yeah, so.
Anything else?
You know, Terry was really happy with our record keeping or my record keeping. She asked if she could use my template as an example for other cities to use for maintaining records, because I showed her how I had records going back to 2001 and everything is in there. I've got a system and a template, and she asked if I would share that, if I'd be willing to. She wanted me to go speak at an MTCA event and show it. And And I said, no, I'll share, but I'm not interested in getting up in front of 1,000 people and talking, so.
Come on, you can be a celebrity.
but-
You could charge for that too,
Yeah,
patent it and
oh, yeah, it's not rocket science, but it is really neat. It's a neat way of keeping your records and everything's right there, so.
Is the fence completed yet?
No, he's gotta get a little bit of, a roll of fence and I think there's only like maybe 10 feet on each side. The posts are all there. Oh, I know what he was waiting for. He was waiting for the, you know, the 3-inch post or 4-inch post that hold the gate.
Yep.
I told him to go get, have the fence guys, you know, they got the thing that wraps around, it's got 2 tabs with a bolt.
Yeah.
To get 1, 2, 3 of those and attach your fence to those, to the main post.
Yeah.
They were dropped off today. He said they were gonna drop those off today, and then also the transformer or whatever they need for the gate was also supposed to be dropped off with those today. The apprentice electrician drilled a hole in our transformer. That's, if you guys are wondering why the gate hasn't been used since they put it in.
Oh, really?
This guy accidentally, he was drilling and he drilled right into the transformer on the circuit board. So Luke's been trying to get one and he finally went to the manufacturer and they got one and it was supposed to be dropped off today. So I would say within this week, it'll all be.
It's all powered up, but it's just mistake. Accident.
Accident,
Okay,
yeah, so
all right,
that's all I have, I think.
all right, thanks. Okay, now we're down to ISG guys.
Thank you so much for having us. My name is Michael Levitsky, Scott Renke. You probably know Bill, Carroll's, lives in town. The reason, Sue, thank you for, we've been playing phone tag kind of back and forth for a while. So in May I think it was May, I stopped in and John was in the office and chatted and, told me a little bit about my background and told me that the city uses, Bolton Inc. I just said, we're another engineering firm just right up the road in Mankato. Would love an opportunity just to stop in and say hi. So a little bit about my background and I'll let Kyle and we kind of talk about ISG. So I've been in the industry about 8 years. I worked for a consulting firm that specialized in just water infrastructure. Because of the nature of the firm I was at, I got to work with a lot of different firms across the upper Midwest. The only 2 firms I didn't work with that were engineering firms in Minnesota were SEH and Bolton Inc. Worked with, all the others that you've probably heard of. And what would happen is when you're working with a lot of these firms, you kind of get to see the good, the bad, the ugly, to understand how they operate, how they handle engineering projects. And more often than not, if a city like Good Thunder would call me and say, hey, Mike, we're looking at potentially switching engineering firms, who would you recommend? And more often than not, I'd recommend ISG because their responsiveness, they met deadlines. When they said they were going to do something, they did it. Their engineering was fair. They didn't over engineer stuff because sometimes engineers can get lost in the weeds and even rack up fee. They did it in nickel and dime communities. They owned mistakes when mistakes happen because, it's construction, things happen. But most importantly, the people is what made the difference. At ISG on our website, you can go look, there's an area where it says no jerks allowed. We really focus on hiring good people. So then about in February of 2023, I came over because they needed someone to help lead their public works new client acquisition. Since February of 2023, we've added 34 new communities and several communities that are in a situation like yours that use Bolton Inc. have made the switch to ISG. And the main reasons were we're able to offer things they're not able to. So we are 50% public, 50% private. So we're able to handle the vertical projects as well. We have architects on staff. We also have electrical and mechanical engineers and structural engineers. So hypothetically, if you were to do a new fire hall or a city hall or a water treatment plant facility, we're not having to sub those other disciplines out to another engineering firm. We're able to keep that all in-house, which mitigates change orders, but also mitigates communication pinpoints and also additional fee. And we also have on-call operators and trainers that, Brian, just listening to you, like what you got going is amazing.
Mhm.
We're in a lot of communities. I'm a speaker at Rural Water. I talk to a lot of communities. Not everyone's doing what you're doing, and it's impressive. But someday Brian might not be here, right? So we have people in place on our team to.
Within 100 years.
100 years, yeah. We have people on our team to help bridge that gap, and to help train the next generation, if you will. So.
Or to be a resource to call.
Or be a resource to call, yeah.
You know, you're kind of a one-man show by the sound of it. So if you need somebody to bounce ideas off of, obviously, you know, you've got some good resources like Rural Water and some of those groups, but you know, having a few other people around town is always nice too.
For sure, and Kyle, I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, I'm Kyle. I'm a civil engineer, 15 years into my role, and really just wanted to make sure that, you know, like Michael said, we're a neighbor, we're local here. Bill's from Good Thunder. We, like I said, we know the area, we know the communities around here and all the different, you know, the county and all the different staff and agency.
Thank you.
You talked about some of the compliance staff and all that good stuff, you know, we're very familiar with all that. And we just want to make sure that we're a familiar face. And if you have any questions and if you have, you know, want to give somebody else a call and bounce some ideas off of, or bounce some costs, or just whatever it is off of, we want to make sure that you have our information. So, really, that's kind of, you know, my biggest thing too. I mean, like Michael said, there's a lot of communities that maybe aren't as progressive as, you know, you're giving your update. You obviously, you know what's going on, and it's really good to hear that you're, you know, being proactive and taking care of a lot of those issues and ahead of the curve, it sounds like.
So I did industrial for a long time, and we used you guys. When we were at Westpac, we used ISG quite a bit.
Hopefully it was good.
Yeah.
Okay. You never know, something I'm kidding, but yeah. But yeah, with Bill being in town, I know, Bill, I don't want to speak for you, but I know Bill was passionate about doing public works, right, Bill?
Yeah.
And someone local, I mean, you can speak to it, you know, this town.
Yeah, grew up here. My mom's on the council for a long time, as everyone knows. I did as much as I could when I was younger. I know when I was in NHS at Maple River, we set up and worked with the city guy at the time to help put a new mulch down at the playground. So whatever I can do to give back to the community, always, I love growing up here, so.
And I think the thing for us is we want to build a long-term relationship. When I took this role at ISG, you know, my role is to help grow our client base. I don't want to be a sales guy. I don't want to be the pushy or salesman. That's not my approach. I want to build long-term relationships with you all and be a resource. I was on a council meeting the other day and I said, regardless if we have a contract or not, please use us as a resource. We're here to do that. We're helping a community south of here, near Fairmont right now that is experiencing, you know, some difficulty with their crew engineer. And that they were using, and we just said, we'll just do a free second opinion on something to see if we can save this. You know, Rural Water is a great resource. You can ask about us. They can't recommend us, obviously, but you know, they can say, hey, you know, this is what they're like to work with. Department of Health is a great resource. But really, we're just looking to be, you know, that resource for you. Everything you were talking about tonight, we have people in Mankato that specialize in helping communities with that, from pickleball courts to baseball, what to do with an old baseball diamond, flooding issues, I&I, planning, zoning. The only thing we don't do is aerospace, which I don't know if that's probably not gonna be a thing, but no, our goal is just to build a relationship. How we do engineering agreements. You can cancel at any time. It's $85 an hour on call. You know, if there's a bigger project, we'll send you a proposal with, you know, where our fee is directly laid out, which is similar costs that, you know, Bolton Inc. or something like that would offer, but yeah, we're just here to say hi and just.
Can you clean up nuisance properties? If you can do that, I think you're hired.
It's your call.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not ready to be a compliance officer.
We do ISG give back days where we come in and do like cleanup, but.
Well, when Brian was talking at first there, it sounded like what he was talking about, it was in Bolton and Mink's court there for quite some time. Do you think that was too long of a lag time there to
Yeah, so, I mean, and I don't know the whole situation, so I don't wanna say yes, but here's what I will say. If ISG gives you a deadline, we're gonna meet that deadline. That's what I was accustomed to do when I partnered with them. That's what I've seen internally. I think the biggest thing, and Kyle can say this, is communication.
I was gonna say, yeah, I mean, it's that, or if it's, if for some reason something changed, you'd know about it and you wouldn't have to ask that question, that kind of thing, you know, is that too long? You know, what the background on some of that was too.
And we would be communicating with the Department of Health up and down. I think the biggest thing that we see, and Kyle and I, and Bill's starting to do more of this, when we go in and meet with the city, a lot of times we sit down with the city clerk and the public works director, the water superintendent, street maintenance, and we say, what's going on? What keeps you up at night? We want to hear your story. What are the good things? What are the bad things? And more often than not, the frustrating pinpoints is the lack of communication on where things are at. And I think one thing we try to do at ISG is we've invested into, I call him a mental coach, but he's really a sports psychologist. He was a sports psychologist for the Cleveland Guardians and the New York Mets. And and the Army, and he's meeting with people like Bill, like Kyle, like myself, to help us be more confident and be better communicators. Because I think that's a lot of times it's the messaging. I don't know how anything.
Definitely a little bit different, but he's a local guy too.
Yeah, he's a Mankato as well, so.
We strayed away from Bolton and Mink for what, year or two?
Couple years, yeah,
And you know, that, they were out of Wyndham, right? I believe.
yeah.
And that just didn't seem to work too well, so we ended up back up at Bolton and Mink, but you know, we've trained them too.
Yeah.
Over our projects, you know, they've had young individuals out here that are needed some guidance. I mean, we were doing a street project right up here one time, and I asked where their on-site guy was, and he's standing at the church. Well, there's a Catholic church blocked this way, and there's a Lutheran church down there, 2 blocks down that way. Well, I went down there, and there's no activity, but he's standing there by the church. Well, I says, the work is up by the other church. When there's no work going on here, maybe I'd explore, you know, find out where the work's going on at. So, you know, you gotta really think, geez, really?
Well, I can tell you our CA is a little different. I mean, you want to explain that, you know better.
I mean, we have some really good staff right now. We've got some dedicated individuals that aren't necessarily back and forth between the different, you know, they're dedicated to the construction administration aspect, and you know, we've got some really good veteran people around here.
Yeah.
And you know, as far as being close by or whatever, you know, ISG's been in Mankato for 50 years now, or 51 years, so we're around and have a very strong presence there, and just want to make, like I said, just the area in general. And
I think they did a lot better this last project. I think they were on site down there quite a little behind Bill's, where he grew up.
Sure.
Because, you know, they had to be there.
Yeah.
They need to be there.
And another thing too, like when it comes to our design, we take a holistic approach. So a lot of firms, what they'll do is they do these like standard specs where we come in and we say every city's unique. I mean, we obviously have standards and protocols that we gotta meet, but we'll bring in, like, when we do a wastewater project or water treatment plant, we have wastewater operators and water operators that participate in the design of an engineer. Because I've been in plants where they got a handicap bathroom on the second floor with no elevator. So I mean, it's those things where sometimes, you know, engineers, no offense, I'm a finance guy, but sometimes get lost in the weeds. And sometimes it's just because it's on paper doesn't mean it's always in reality. And the same thing happens with our street projects. We have individuals that work for contractors that are out there, they're seasoned, so they know which church to stand at. Yeah, or where the project is.
yeah, we've got a little bit different crew there, like what Michael was saying, from a design standpoint, we have licensed operators on staff as well, not just engineers and design teams. So when that's the case, you know, like Michael said, we're on call with different cities to help them solve their problems, or even be their operator in an interim kind of condition, and really, you know, can be a little bit more on that hands-on side of things and just in the office too.
And I'll also be the first one to tell everybody, I mean, I was at another meeting about a month and a half ago, and the council was thinking about changing, but the public works director had a really good relationship with their current engineer, which didn't happen to be ISG. And I just said, look, at the end of the day, we're built about building relationships. Like, I don't want to sell anybody on anything. If your public works director likes working with this person and they're not, and there's not a nuisance to the council, it's okay to stay with them, but when they retire or something happens, we're here. And you know, that's just kind of our approach. It's the long-term relationship is that we're going after.
Have you guys done many small community water treatment projects? Like, what are you seeing? You put in a lot of ROs, you put in a lot of, what kind of treatment is the thing now?
I mean, that's definitely things that a lot of, depending on what aquifer and well and what contaminants you're dealing with, I mean, that's the way some people are going. Especially with some of the new manganese and some of those things coming down the pipeline, they're not necessarily requirements yet, but.
Yeah, and chloride and.
But here's what I will tell you. I think, you know, some companies claim right-sized solutions, but then they're designing these $30 million plans for these towns of 280 people. ISG is not doing that. The town we're helping, South of Seattle, what the name, without their permission. But they're like less than 300 people and they're getting a $21 million plan.
Yeah,
And first off, Department of Health's like, time out, like. And with how funding works, first and foremost, there's not a firm out there that can guarantee you funding. So if someone comes in here and goes, we're the best at funding, we can guarantee it. I'm gonna just be honest, it's bullshit. I talk to people like I would with the bar and my friends, but I apologize if that's not take. I'm just being real. You can't guarantee anything. It's on a point system, and what we try to do is do the right projects to make sure we can hopefully get you the best grant opportunity, but also low interest loans. Because what's happening is when you look at the state of Minnesota, I don't know what's gonna happen next year, but I can talk about what's happened this year. So tomorrow I'm doing a funding class at the up at St. Cloud that Rural Water puts on, so I'll know more.
I'll be there.
Oh, nice.
Who's gonna be there too?
But the state of Minnesota last year, I spent with Terry Luigi, who's gonna be speaking there tomorrow, had $300 million allocated. Now, that was from the federal government, that every state gets a appropriation of that money. That 300 million got split up into three buckets. 150 was for special interest groups. And those are like the bigger cities that meet politics needs. 50 million went to different like tribal organizations, and then 100 million went to projects. Well, there's 40 communities that are right now approved for funding. Those 40 communities total $400 million. Well, if there's only $100 million in that bucket, not all that money is going to be able to be grant funded. So what the state's really starting to do, a long time, the history was do these massive infrastructure projects, do everything at once and get a bunch of grant money and then the rest would be loan. Well, the city's realizing the cities aren't able to pay back that loan for like a $20 million infrastructure project. So what they're doing is one, a lot of times they're rejecting those. And they're making go back, but then there's another PER and that sort of thing. So they're just getting more strict on how how the money is appropriated throughout the different funds. And I'll know more tomorrow about next year and then, but they didn't pass a bonding bill last year, so the money wasn't awarded. But so we still see that. We're trying to do the right thing to prevent that from happening. We're trying to do the right size solution because we look at it as how in the hell is the city ever gonna pay this back? There's maintenance there, right? So like when there's maintenance and you're all your money tied up in a loan, how are you gonna afford it? And then this town, you heard Brian talk about, they would need, if they got an RO plan, you gotta go to a Class B operator. This town's not gonna afford, they don't wanna pay the price of the Class B.
The gist of my question was this, right now, we've got a sand filter, an old one from the turn of the century, and I'm talking the last century.
Yes.
Come on.
I didn't mean to go off the tangent, Brian, I'm passionate about this.
Right, but it's putting out great water, everybody in town loves the water here, agreed, and it's meeting all of the aspects that are required by the Department of Health. But it's old, it's starting to get full, it's starting to fail. Anyway, so I'm wondering, well, the reason we haven't jumped and spent money and done anything to either improve this filter or look into a new one is because first they're talking chloride. Well, then what are you gonna do? Are you gonna put in lime softening or anything, and then, and now you mentioned magnesium, that's another one, or manganese, that's coming up and they might put a limitation on manganese. And so now you're almost forced to go to either like an RO system or like a UF or, you know, something like that. I was just wondering, in your opinion, what way are things gonna go? Are we really seriously looking at this? Or can't the Department of Health make up their mind and give us a straight up?
I think a little bit as a crystal ball, a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, there's that and there's the PFAS stuff going on too.
PFAS too, yeah,
That's
yeah.
another one. I mean.
We're good on PFAS, but
Yeah, I mean, those are things that they look at too, and they obviously don't want to change requirements, and then it turns out every city in the entire state is out of compliance and with no, you know, way to get back in, they kind of want to make sure that they're doing the right thing too, and. I don't know, great answer for you there.
yeah, I don't know.
But I don't know if anybody does, or at least for the PFAS stuff does right now, but, I think the biggest thing is just making sure that you're kind of planning ahead for it, that if you need to do if you're doing an improvement, make it one that. But either, if you're not gonna go to the RO right away, is it something that you could upgrade later without
Yeah,
a whole new plant or a whole new system?
you guys know what happened in Amboy. That was a mess. They put in an RO and
Yeah, that was a long dragged out thing there.
now they got a guy trying to get his license to operate it, you know.
It's hard, right?
Yeah,
And
I mean, some communities need it, but again, kind of like we said, not trying to do something above and beyond. If you've got good water and you like it, we don't want to be.
we can continue to limp this one along almost indefinitely, but at some point, something's gonna have to be done.
Well, we're still in with Warren Olson, right? Our project is up to the state, right? Where we were looking at a new treatment plant.
He's gonna present it in this fall, isn't it?
Yeah, and
your engineer,
we bought some property a block away
Working on a bonding bill.
that's awesome.
for a new well and maybe a new facility.
Yep.
Because this would take a lot of updating. Maybe you could just simply move it down there with the new well and transfer this water down there, because our one well is what, 80 gallons a minute, the other one's
Yeah.
350.
350, yeah.
Yeah, so you know, we really need another backup well. One thing in my conservative view, I think that Bolton and Mink overbuilds things a lot of times for a town our size. I mean, what fits Mankato doesn't fit out here.
Right.
And I mean, trying to keep it conservative and affordable for small towns is very important.
Mhm.
Do you think, Tom, they overbuild things once in a while, or?
I don't know.
Yeah, I just see them numbers and it's like, wow, you know?
So let me ask you, cause Kyle can tell you how, cause if you were to switch, you're gonna feel comfortable do so, Kyle would probably be. You would see the engineer and I don't think like kind of and Bill would be there as kind of his backup and hopefully someday transitioning into cause he's local and no one cares more about this town than the town he lives in. But are they charging you for council meetings? I guess, how are they?
Mhm.
Oh,
what are
yeah.
they doing?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, do they charge you to review the minutes?
Yes,
Okay. We see that a lot, so Kyle, you wanna explain how you do it?
Yeah.
You're the city engineer in a couple towns that are much smaller than Good Thunder.
Yeah, I mean, depending on how it is, sometimes we'll either have like that reduced rate or flat rate for a council meeting. Some of these ones like this, so just getting going, we want to learn your community and learn about you and just get that relationship. Obviously, we're not gonna charge you to learn things about your community and make that relationship or whatever the case is. When it comes down to being actually project based, then we do. But,
We're not billing you to review your council meeting
we're not
minutes.
billing for
I
that
mean,
kind of stuff. If you want to give us a call for 10 or 15 or 20 minutes and talk, we're happy to do so. Happy to give you whatever advice or whatever we can.
and a lot of times we don't
We're
even
not
bill
keeping track.
for the council meeting because we're there for a project and our fees lumped into the project, so it's kind of double dipping. So you'll have that as part of the project too.
Are you Vernon Center's engineers at all, or?
No, I stopped in there though, I'd like to be.
Cause they spent a lot of money here, well, this year and part of next year, you know, and holy cow. The amount of money they got out there, well, they're smaller than us to
Yeah.
pay off that debt is,
Yeah.
wow, wild.
You know, I'd like to be, but we're not, hopefully someday,
Yeah,
we're growing our presence. For a while, I mean, we're well known in you know, Mankato and some of the other cities around there. Where, like you mentioned, we've done a lot on the private side and on the water team. We're building a team of some rich people that have a ton of experience like Kyle and training great people like Bill. And, you know, in Iowa, we do most of the public works down there. Two of the key differentiators, the people that differentiate ourselves from our competition, Tom Atkins and Julie Sievers, they work for the Iowa DNR on the regulatory side. Julie is the ammonia expert for the state of Iowa. She hates when I say that, but she's phenomenal. And she worked closely with the Minnesota Department of Health, the Wisconsin DNR, the South Dakota Department of Health. So we know all those different regulation and rules, and we just try to benefit people in the right way and try to do what's right. I mean, our smallest community that we're working with is 56 people. That's one of Kyle's clients. Sargent, Minnesota.
Yeah.
Yeah, their water issues too. They've got the same thing, you know, they've got old infrastructure that they're trying to improve, but.
We're just trying to do the right
looking
thing.
through the right solution there, where it's not necessarily build something brand new. Maybe it's fix what you have, or just kind of helping them through that process, making sure that the right solution for the long term.
Do you do Brownsdale though?
We're doing their lead service line inventory. So the city of Dexter, Brownsdale, right? You said, sir? You said Brownsdale.
Brownsdale, yeah.
So Dexter, Minnesota, Natalie Carroll is a city clerk. So they were a former client of mine. They came on board with ISG when I went here. And Brian Petzel, one of our colleagues on it, is the one servicing them. And Natalie brought us into Brownsdale to do the lead service line, but they use Jones, Haugen Smith, which subs everything to Bolton. We're hoping to take over Brownsdale Engineering, but we don't have that yet. No.
Okay.
We just did the lead service line inventory.
The old original ISG was Ken Supernaut, right? Here in Mankato?
He's still there.
Yeah, he signed off and drew all the, everything for the fire station
Really?
here in town.
Yeah, so he left, he
was the
came
man
from
of
Bolton.
many talents.
Yeah, and he came from Bolton Inc. And it was funny, the I was it, left after a year, didn't like being an engineer, didn't like own his own company, so he got out and then. Yeah, they
51 years later, the eye still hung around for 1 year.
And Ken always said we were too poor to change the name, that's what
Yeah, they
And also, I wanna say one thing too, like, I know you have your state representative going to the funding. So if you switch an engineering firm at this point, there's no penalty to the city of Good Thunder. There are points when you have a project where you can do clean breaks. If you were already through design or working through that, we'd probably say, hey, time out, I would hold off unless it's a complete disaster. But when you're not really working on anything, you know, right now, these are the times to do it if you feel comfortable. Like we said, we're just here, we're 14 miles up the road, happy to assist. And just be that resource. That's our goal. We don't want to sell you, we want to build a long-term relationship, but these are awesome questions. Keep them coming.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get up here and they don't ask.
It's pretty awesome that you're working with your representative too. I've been in some of those meetings and been to the transportation committee at the Capitol for different projects and things, and it's a pretty big deal.
I think Jeff Dahmer's kind of thinks that we ask too many questions once in a while, right? But you know what? That's how we learn and how we get answers.
I guess other than the pricing and the nickel and diming, is there anything else that maybe would you like? Or what other things that would you not want to see? I guess what's important to you all? Like if we were to become your engineer eventually someday, what's important to you?
I would say communication is number one, and number two is if there is a project going on, it's ensuring that we're getting the bang for the buck. And that's what we didn't have, and that's why we got away from Bolton and Mink for a couple of years there, because we did not have that. You know, it was all after the fact and too late, and things weren't right, and underground wasn't done correctly, and you know, and we've even taken the turn now that if we have a project, whatever it is ongoing in town, we have somebody local watch it too. in addition to the engineering firm watching it too. In addition to whoever else is watching it.
There's a lot.
I have a good relationship with Jeff Domrus. He's kind of like you guys. He's out here to answer the questions.
Sure.
But it seems like when he hands it down into the departments, that's when it falls apart. Jeff has usually been a pretty good shooter, but when it gets handed off, just like Brian's there, that took too many months to get done. I mean, somebody should be behind that department going, well, Good Thunder's been waiting 5 months for this. What's the deal? So I think that's where that kind of falls apart.
I like as a operator or, in charge of the project. If they come and they sit down with me and say, what do you think of these peristaltic pumps that we're gonna put in for this phosphorus project? What do you think of this tank? Do you think it has the right ins and outs on the tank? Here's the drawing, what do you think of it? And instead of it just show up and then there it is, and if they would just sit down for an hour and say, this is what we're proposing to install. Have you got any experience with these pumps? Well, yeah, it's a piece of junk. I hate that pump, but we turned out, we got the Cadillac of all pumps, but I didn't know it until we got them. But just sit down and with the drawing and say, this is what we're proposing to purchase. What do you think of it? Stuff like that, because that didn't happen.
Yeah, and we're very fortunate to have Brian because of all of his background as a commercial business that he's done over the years, so he knows a lot about it where he can teach.
Well, and that's where like when we work with someone, like when you first start out, I always say it's kind of like dating. You're getting to know each other a little bit. You're learning how each other communicate and expectations. And that's where we have some communities that just go, hey, take care of it. And we try to teach them as much, but they're like, hey, just go. But then when we have instances like O'Brien, our team is working hand in hand. We're asking for feedback. We're working together. And to answer your question, how to prevent that, ISG has a me. Kyle my role is making sure we're keeping up to date on everything. The relationship is first and foremost. So I can tell you how I've operated is we try to do it. If someone reaches out, but to me personally, you get a response within 24 to 48 hours. It might be, hey, I got your email. I'm working on it. I got a couple questions for its email. I'll get back to you, but you got a response because that's the worst thing you can have is just left in the dark. And I'll make sure if you switch with us that you won't wait like that.
Well, our treatment.
Without reasoning that you're up to date on.
Our treatment thing that we're doing right now, there's a panel there for the pumps, and it's not too far from the structure.
Yep.
Well, they're gonna build this building, and I was down there that day. Tom, you were there too, right? And they're gonna build this building and they're gonna rewire all this stuff. Well, I know if they take and rewire all that stuff, this panel that's been out there since it was probably built, can be thrown away. We're gonna start all over with all brand new. There's nothing wrong with it. I was down there and said, well, what happens if, this panel that we got right here, hanging here on 2 posts, what happens if we just put the building right here beside it and not even molest any of that? Well, by God, that might work. Yeah, it would work and it'd save a lot of money too, So it's things like that they just want all new all the time. Well, if there's nothing wrong with that panel that's there serving them pumps, why would you want to take and go down and put all new lines in and have all that done? Where you can just build the wall behind it and put it inside and it'll last a lot longer. So, they kind of thought, well, that idea wouldn't be too bad. But they're the engineers.
Quite frankly, that's why we have 1.2 million in the bank.
Yep.
Little town of Good Thunder.
Because of our conservative nature.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, there's no reason to replace an electric panel that stood there since probably 1970 when it's done. And all it does is run the transfer pumps. And we're gonna add a few things to it, but you can house that in the new building you're gonna build. What the hell is the difference if that building is here or right behind that panel? It's stuff like that you point out to people and like, oh, yeah, wow. I'd save money. Yeah, bingo. So maybe you don't like being told what to do, but I guess I will tell you what I think. I don't have a problem with that.
Easier to work with. For sure, no, I mean, yeah, I mean, a situation like that, we'd probably just take a look at it and tell you why, either if there was some reasoning why we thought it needed to be, or we'd let you know what.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know.
Reason through something like that.
You look at it, it's in great shape. Yeah, the wire's old, but you know what? Yeah, maybe the conduit might go to hell in 3 years after. Maybe, who knows? But conduit usually doesn't rot out until the air hits it, you know, underground. It's there preserved for quite some time, so.
I'm gonna bring that out before I mentioned AV, you were talking about the different houses and stuff. That's the other time. So ISG has a housing residential business unit, so we do a lot of housing projects. So we could help, if that was something you ever needed help serving the town to make sure property was like, that's something we can do as well. We have a team of surveyors in Mankato that can do that.
You survey?
Not me personally.
No, but you guys survey?
Yeah, I'm sure we've done stuff around here before, we kind of do.
Yeah.
Around the area, but yeah.
Oh, that's good.
We've spent money on water main maps and sewer maps, you know, and I forget who did this for us.
Long time
We spent
ago.
what, 10,000-12,000 bucks to have these people. But you know, we have some independent runs that the main might be 200 feet away. And so we had them, so they aren't all down there yet, you know, marked. We're learning, we're finding a few more by mistake here once in a while. So, but you know, we've invested a lot in trying to make everything we have here better.
Yeah.
You know. Down there behind Bill's house there, we put a new line in as far as we could with the property we had to work in, and we really think that was a big source of our I&I, you know, and there's probably perimeter tile around those houses that are contributing to our I&I, you know, and so we try to take and make good improvements. So.
How much do you charge for like a town lot to be surveyed? I know it would depend a lot, but like, you know.
Yeah. It's something that I shouldn't answer.
And I'll tell you a couple corners in town that are really off. So boy, I tell you, if you survey from the south to the north and the north to the south, you're gonna come off a different.
And yeah, we can get you a number, but that is something.
One was just done in town and it was like $3,000 and I thought that was crazy. I mean, that sounds like farm property survey to me versus a town property. So maybe prices that is something, but I was just curious for personal reasons.
Yeah, I don't know that sounds too far out of line what some of them are, but not to say that if there's been like any other recent survey in the area, it just depends. Like, it's kind of like a puzzle, like you said, some of the different points, it's kind of like bringing it in, you go up to the county section lines and
Yep.
Work your way in. It's a little bit like a puzzle. So if you're doing one lot versus 10, or if you've done one with the area, you know, it kind of changes a little bit on that side of things.
I think one of our problems is down by the elevator there, and the other one is just a block away where them pins are like, if you go from this direction or that direction, it makes a difference.
You know, one thing we've been doing to try to streamline the costs, ISG has invested in a lot of applied technology. I don't know if this would work here, Kyle, but we do this for surveying projects. We have a LiDAR helicopter camera attached to like a mini helicopter. Rather than having someone walk the streets, and that eats up a lot of time and, you know, cost there. We'll fly one of our drone helicopters and we can survey a town and we can still get everything within a half an inch, the same that you would from the stick. So there's things that we're trying to do to save money, but not everybody in this town, sometimes in rural America, wants a helicopter flying over, right? So we're conscious of that too. And then another thing that we bring to the table is when we ever do a project, we know the town of Good Flunder is roughly what, 518 people?
560.
560. So you all have 560 bosses, right? So what we do is we try to be that extension of your staff, offer community engagement to make sure the questions all just don't go to Brian or you all. We try to be that buffer to help you out. we were just had a community engagement event for a project, up in Stillwater, Minnesota. We're doing a street reconstruction. It's streets in town, Myrtle Street, if you're familiar with Stillwater, it goes from the top of the hill all the way down to downtown, and we had a community event there, just preliminaries, outreach. We go to the town festivals and we'll set up a booth there. We'll also, yeah, we want to be a part of your community. I mean, that's our biggest thing is with us, is we really do care and just want to build that relationship. So I know we've taken a lot of your time. But I
It's
just,
pretty awesome how, you know, everybody obviously is pretty engaged and yeah, good to see that. Yeah, good active council.
yeah,
And this is early, man. I mean, it's only an hour.
Yeah.
When Tom runs the show, they're done in 45 minutes. When I'm here, it's an hour and a half, 2 hours.
we want to be respectful. I mean, if there's ever any questions, I know Kyle brought his card. Here's mine. Happy to help, happy to be a resource. If I don't know the answer, I'll try to get it.
Thank you.
But yeah, we're just here to,
Competition keeps people honest. You know?
There's truth to that.
but yeah, we love an opportunity to help and be that resource. Like I said, we're just right up the road.
Yep. All right.
Okay.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else with any questions before they go?
Say hi to Jacqueline Thiessen.
Oh, yeah. Your friends.
Thiessens are a family name around here.
Jake used to be on the fire department for how many years and
Huh?
Jake used to be on the fire department for
Yeah.
how many years and yeah.
You live basically across the street from here.
The parents lives just north of town, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Bill and I are within, not quite whispering distance of Jacqueline. So
Awesome.
from me to you away, so we'll say hi.
All right.
All right,
Good.
thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep,
Have a good night.
yep.
One,
Yeah.
you guys will see a bill from Quality Flow. They came down last week. Remember I was having trouble with the ponds with reverse flow and, short run times on the pumps.
Yeah,
That was all in regard to the flows that are in the lift station. There's several floats for the on and off for the different pumps. There's 4 different pumps in there. What was happening was, the pump was turning on and running for like 15 seconds and then shutting off. And I would wait and run 15 seconds and shut off, which is really inefficient. It's really hard on the pumps.
yeah.
We have 400 feet of force main between the lift station and the splitter box where it goes to the first pond. When it would only run short runs like that, the solids that are in the pipe stay in the pipe. And so they would, basically plug the flow meters of the solids that I couldn't read the flow properly. And anyway, he reset all the floats and set the heights. The on and the off were so close together that it was barely running at all. And so you'll see a bill for that. He did a really nice job. And then he left a chart on the inside of the panel as far as which flood and what and all the rest. So they did a real nice job, but you'll see a bill for that coming. That was money well spent. And the other thing that I had was in the cover letter from Teresa Roth with this attached to it. He's adamant that we do some exploratory investigation to find out about those 3 extra pipes that are plumbed into that sewer main up on that end of town.
Oh, yeah.
To find out about those field tiles. She said
Yep.
that would be amazing if we do find that and get them capped off because that's probably our big
Oh,
source.
yeah, I thought that was supposed to continue on, you know, and find them.
I don't know what next step is or if you guys have something planned or if Bolden and Mink does, but that would be I would say first thing in the spring, I would at least try to explore and find out what in the area where those were located to find out, dig down and expose it and find out what it is.
Well, there was a rock in the way on the north end, right?
Mhm.
And did they get that out of the way so
I
they
don't
could,
think so. I don't
Okay.
think that was the last.
okay,
I think they moved that rock, but when you got down to Jim Day's behind his house, I think it was the sewer tile is shoved into the main and the camera won't go any further.
oh, really?
Yeah, it's like penetrated in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But don't they have a saw where they could cut that off? I mean, they go in and they trim fiberglass when they reline it. Somebody would think would be able to.
But there's no, I think he said there was no.
Yeah, you gotta
manhole.
come in from the
Yeah,
north side,
you know,
yeah.
so maybe a guy has to excavate a few different spots and dig down to where that comes into the main and and figure out exactly what we have going on there.
Did she say anything about the generator?
No, well, I showed her the generator, I showed her the chemical addition and everything, and she was just all thumbs up about the gate, everything. So, I mean, she drove around once, never even got out of the car. Followed me in my car, we went around the ponds, and then we stopped and talked, and, so, no, she was very happy with it. The only thing she suggested here, I had Pemberton's the same day. And for both facilities, and it may be in the inspection report, to maintain your fence line on both sides of the fence line to make sure you don't lose your fence line to the weeds and woods and all the rest, just to make sure. She said one more width on the outside of the fence is perfect, and then weed kill along where all your fence posts are, just so that you don't get the interwoven
Yeah.
trees and saplings and brush and everything
The
else.
fence needs to be tightened and lifted and redone too.
So, other than that, I mean, she was like looking for things to, cause there was nothing to find, so, yeah.
Good.
Trace, Tech Sue said that pipe, you have to see both sides of it, cause if they cut, it blow apart. At one,
No,
they have damage.
So in other words, it needs to be dug down right there where that connection is to get that put in properly.
You know,
And it's funny, it didn't ever have well, of course, it only flows north. Cause they didn't have one on the south end, so it only
Right.
flows north, so I guess, yeah, some of this stuff, especially.
so when they built that house, they just cut a hole and just pushed the pipe. and,
Put it in too far.
You know,
Yeah. Would have been the house?
well, it's gotta be the Jim's, I'm assuming his house line.
Okay, I was wondering, I can't remember if he put a bathroom in there when he built that garage. If there could be, that could be the additional one.
Either that or is way back when they built that house on the corner.
But yeah, I mean, that one was running pretty clear water and that could be coming directly from the field. So,
I think that's where our phosphorus problem and a lot of our problems are.
Yeah,
yep,
when we're getting 1,000,000 gallons in one day.
yep, that's gotta be a direct line.
That's
It's
not-
gone.
Yeah,
All right,
Well, I was home that day. Race and flipped that and everybody on that block, there's, got home. The end house, he's by himself. And the amount of water, there was no way that was washing.
there's a lot of water.
Oh, yeah, yeah, it was clear.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
all right. Okay, we're on down to unfinished business.
We got this agreement here for. This agreement from this church.
Yep.
We probably can take care of that, eh?
Yeah, she's got it down here and unfinished, yeah. Or new business, yeah. I was just wondering under. Have old, would old be unfinished?
Yep.
Yes. Dakota Mart talked about last, did we hear anything more from the lawyer in the last 30 days of what?
What was the last response? I think it was where we could send. We could send a discovery, but did we already do that? Let me double check with that again. You need to remind me of these things before the meeting.
I'm sorry.
I was here all day today.
And you know. Being that that's right on Main Street, there's stuff along the east side of the building, you know, how do you get that picked up?
It looks a lot better than what it has.
I know, but let's go for 100% instead of 67. You know, I mean, if there's stuff there that's sat there for the last 2 or 3 years, obviously not gonna be used. The building's abandoned, well, let's at least have a clean looking building. Because there's a lot of people that come to town on Friday and Saturday nights to that restaurant, they go, God, I wonder why that city don't clean that up. Right? You know, so I mean, could they just possibly pick up everything that's around the outside and the old gas pumps is 5 miles away in Beaufort, they take them.
Mhm.
You know, how do we get that done?
Let's send them a letter. Let's send them a letter. I know they aren't gonna do anything. I get all that. But let's send them a letter.
Somebody brought to my attention that the stuccle's falling off. the
Yes,
back
it is,
of
the back door, yeah,
I went down there and, yeah,
yeah,
Maybe mention that too.
the doors,
appears-
well, the brick or that terracotta stuff.
Yeah.
Behind the stucco is
yeah.
blowing
It's
apart.
exposed, yeah.
And
Yeah.
the door frame's about rotted out.
Yeah.
It's gonna cave in basically.
And I forgot to call the individual at Amboy that had his tanks removed. I was gonna call him and see what it cost. You know, just so we had an idea. Because again, it'll sit there. And,
Yeah, that'd be good to know that Urban had them
Yep.
removed.
yep. Mhm. So, anyway, that was the only thing I had under older, anybody else was unfinished or old? Then we go to new business. First thing is, employee raise 1.5%.
That's really from this year yet, right?
Correct. That was what,
That's what we,
was talked about in April, yeah, and then we
Yeah.
got and then the employees got the 1.5% with the other 1.5% in the fall.
okay, I am going to go on the limb here. And say that not only have our employees met the 1.5%, I think they have met 2%. They should get more than what we originally thought about.
This 1.5 is for the year, or this is twice a year?
Well, this is be a raise they get now.
Yeah, so,
And
It
so
was
next
approved.
year, you look at
yes,
raises again, and if we do the same thing, you guys do the same thing, you'll say, okay, in 6 months, you get 1.5%. And in 6 more months, you'll get 1.5%.
Yeah.
Now, I'm saying is that, you know, we did that, and I think that they have, in my opinion, excelled to the point where they should get a little more than, or 1.5%.
Here's a question I have. John and I met with both Sue and Race. How do we share our findings with the rest of the council in a closed meeting? You know?
Yeah.
Discuss,
Yeah.
so say next month, we could, say at the end of the meeting, we're gonna go in a closed meeting for
Yeah.
X amount of minutes to talk about what John and I,
Would you'd be reporting to council.
yeah, right, there you
What their
go.
concerns were too,
Pardon?
Yeah, yeah.
what their concerns or your
Yeah,
concerns.
yeah,
Everything.
both ways.
Everything.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be. If you spent an hour between both employees, you wouldn't have to be an hour meeting. It'd
Right.
Be condensed to 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you know. Yeah,
Yeah. So
hopefully.
this raise is counteractive whether we pass it tonight or next month, right? It's still in the same business year, right?
We're still in the same business year. It's just that, you know,
so would it go retro or would it be
It would probably be retro, right?
Hmm,
Yeah.
retro to what? Just out of curiosity. Retro to our,
October, I think is when we originally said, wasn't it, the reviews?
well, we set the reviews for the fall, is all it was really said.
Yeah, I would
They
say,
were done in the end of October, right?
yeah, but I,
Do it effective November 1st,
or October 1st, or
whatever.
the first pay period in October, you know.
oh, you mean do it retroactive?
I'm just asking if you were to wait and do it next month, would it be retroactive then, or would it start like
What
December
difference does it
1st?
make then, if you do it tonight or next month?
Well, you gave a raise, but you didn't know the performance, you know?
I'm just saying, in my opinion,
Yeah, right.
from viewing and hearing and listening. That's all. So.
How would that work with, the attorney not wanting counsel to meet in a closed session?
Well,
That's why you guys went
You're
to,
talking about performance then. You
Yeah,
have to be,
because you guys, that's why you guys went to a 2-person
right,
personnel
but,
meeting.
Right, but we still have to,
Reporting back.
We have to
Yes,
report.
correct. I'm just making sure that,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
There's
And run it by
issue.
Kennedy to make sure it's
No,
done.
it's not Kennedy. It's the
Pardon?
other attorney. The other attorney is the reason I'm asking this.
yeah, you're talking about
Julie?
Julie.
Yes,
Julie,
correct.
Yeah, either
Yeah,
one.
That's why I'm asking. That's why I just wanted to make sure that that was not gonna cause an issue.
no, we have to have a means to communicate
Oh, absolutely.
to the council.
Yeah.
And since it's on the employees, you and Race, I would think and it's not like we're gonna have another hour meeting like, it's just gonna be a 5-10 minutes.
Yep.
So,
And what we had that before? Because, or, well, it doesn't even matter, I guess.
before it's a little more difficult because who's got to set up and everything. You know?
Right,
Just thought of that.
Then the raise
right,
month or next month or after we just.
But
you're right.
we can wait till next month. I guess it won't hurt nothing. If we retroactive
Yeah.
it too.
Well,
Because Banyan does that. I remember that. You know, you can, and it's very easy. So.
what are we gonna do with this then, agreement?
Well, we need to renew it. Is it every 15 years? Have you ever remembered seeing this? I see it
Now that I,
notarized on the back.
now that I see it, I do remember. I just didn't know where it was or what it was anymore, you know,
Put it the clerk yet,
Mhm.
2009.
yeah. Half notarized and everything.
Yeah, the church reached out to me and asked me about it, and I went, I don't even know where the other one is, so he did some digging and found it. And then I asked him to put together this one.
Why didn't Cheryl have her notary stamp on?
She does.
Probably conflict of interest.
It's Gail Getlicker's.
I don't know.
Because she can't notarize her own signature.
That's what I was wondering. That's the same thing you have.
But then I wouldn't have to necessarily sign it. Because it doesn't have to be the city clerk.
That could be.
Yeah,
You could have,
I can
the
sign
mayor
it.
can sign it and I can
Then
notarize.
you
the
can
mayor's
notarize
signature.
it.
Correct.
Yep.
So anyway. Yeah, I don't know
Why we wouldn't,
why you wouldn't, yeah.
Right.
We definitely need a park.
Well, he's got it listed. It is to be used as playground and park for the public. Well, you put that pickleball, that would be.
That's a playground, absolutely,
And for the public.
So,
absolutely.
I would do some clarification on that though,
Right.
before you.
Yeah.
well, I'm
went
just
ahead and
saying,
dug.
Absolutely, yeah.
The only
You know,
thing is, anything permanent belongs to the church. You know, I mean, if you did the slab or whatever you put it on and the band size folds, you know, that would belong to the church then, you know.
So just say, for instance, in 10 years, the church dissolves. Does that property automatically come to the city? Or would
No.
that have to
Any,
be
any,
bought?
any new buyer would have to honor any leases through the extent. So if we do another 15, they'd have to honor that as a park for the period.
up to the 15.
Right, however long we sent or this agreement, you know, I guess this really isn't a lease, but
I
Well-
don't know how the Catholics. feel. But if that happened to St. John, all that property and value all goes to the synod.
right.
The ownership goes directly to the synod. So nobody has a chance to buy it in there unless they want to sell it. Maybe it's that way.
I would assume it would go back to the
Parishes
diocese.
too, I don't know that.
I'm sure the diocese, yeah, but
But would you ever put in this language that the city, if it ever got, that we could be first buyer? Because if we invest in a pickleball park and spend other money for structures and make it, update it, you know, and then all of a sudden it dissolves and it goes away, there could be a developer come in there and want to build 6 houses on that block and we'd be out. Our
well,
stuff.
you'd think we'd be still good for 15 years.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And if it lasts 15 years, then well, then who cares?
Okay. Okay.
You can have our cement slab. It's cracked anyways.
I agree.
Yeah, I suppose that'd be a way of looking at it. All right, well, somebody want to make a motion then to renew this agreement or development?
I got a dumb question. Does an attorney seen this?
Not that I'm aware of, no, because it's the same as what the other one was.
I understand. I just,
So yeah, I never did.
I don't know.
That's probably my fault.
I mean, I guess I would be okay with that if it was
How about if we
pursuant.
send it to Chris and you guys can approve a contingent on,
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
contingent on his approval of it.
They make a motion to make it happen?
So.
Come in second.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. All right. Miscellaneous?
Canvas, the election.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, right, we gotta do that too.
Sue, you wanna say it?
Mayor has to say it.
I have to say it?
Yep.
Really? What sheet do I go off of? Do we talk about, how many people were registered and?
I don't, my understanding is you have to do the details of the election. Or how many votes for the mayor, how many votes for the. Council. My first time doing this, so.
So do we go from the top and, well, I guess we can. Number of persons registered at 7 a.m. as of November 5th, 323. Number of persons registered on election day, 10. Number of accepted regular military overseas absentee ballots and mail-in ballots, 267. Number of federal office only absentee ballots, 0. Number of presidential absentee ballots, 0. Total number of persons voting, 267. For mayor, there was 187, 38 write-ins. For council person, which would be Amy, 207 votes and 51 write-in, and the write-in goes to Jim Day, right?
Correct.
Yep.
With 26 votes.
If he accepts it, as long as he accepts.
And I see you called me now while we're at the meeting here, so, everybody good with this then?
Oh, he's up north. I just got a text from him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, thank you. I haven't been told about that yet. I'm up north deer hunting.
Oh,
Do I wonder if he's maybe gonna get this here. Should I ask him if he'll
yeah,
accept?
yeah. We can take care of all of our business and.
I made a call too the other day and. The phone service, the phone won't ring, but if you text, they can get texts all day long. It's weird how that works.
Oh, Jim Day got 26.
You know,
I said 51, but that was the total.
the total. That was.
Yeah, that was the total of the write-in, but Jim Day got the 26. Okay, yep. Do we have to mention other people or not?
No,
Good. Did that one?
That's
17 total different people, or
for the one, or for everybody else,
well, the 50.
other than Jim Day.
So do we need a motion on this then, or?
there's a resolution
Do we have-
certifying the election return.
Oh, okay.
Do we have to wait and see if Jim accepts it or not?
No.
No? Want to make that a resolution then, or do you have it?
Here.
Yeah,
Yep.
we left you some stuff on your
Oh,
additions to,
Go ahead, you can use that one.
all right. Okay, somebody want to make a motion to adopt resolution 2024-18? City of Good Thunder resolution certifying election returns and declaring the results of the November 5th, 2024 general election.
I'll make that motion to approve 24-18. Electing Robert Anderson, Amy Clammer and Jim Day.
All right, someone a second?
I will second that motion.
Tom, you weren't on there. We should have a little discussion. Tom, seconded, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, motion carried.
Oh, I sent the text, so I will see if he comes back or not.
Were you trying to show me the write-ins for mayor? Did you have that?
No, just as.
That's for those.
Yeah.
Oh,
We got this other page that shows something, doesn't it? Has all the whole listing of write-ins.
oh, just for the council seat. Yeah, those don't have to be read.
No, but Jamie,
Oh.
you're just asking the question.
The write-ins,
That's
Mayor.
the page I was looking for right there.
This one, yeah.
Yeah.
This is for council. I was wondering who the write-ins were for mayor.
We won't know because we don't need to because of the resolution we signed last fall
Oh,
stating that they don't count write-ins unless obviously we had to on this one.
oh, I see. Gotcha.
So here's something under miscellaneous. For the last 30 years, I've always voted on everything we have. You know, unless it's a conflict of interest, and I may have missed one or two of them. Like right now, when we voted, I said, yeah. Should I only be the tiebreaker? And not vote, like say there's 2 for nay and 2 for no. Should I be the tiebreaker and never vote only if there's a tie? Or should I continue to vote the way I have been? You know, when with that wellhead down here, you know, and that led to all that issues, you know. I voted for that because I felt buying that piece of property and having a place for a well was for the betterment of the city. But other people see that in a different view. So, you know, then you kind of read that. How does that go? Weak mayor,
Yeah, the week mayor.
yeah,
Yep.
I read up on that, but right now I'm drawing a blank again. So being that it's another new year and I have 2 more years,
To me, that as the weak mayor, really your only other duties as mayor is to run the meetings. So you're still a voting member. So I think unless it's a conflict of interest, then those are the times, well, any of us can have a conflict with something we're voting on where we could abstain,
but
but
then still continue on the
yes,
way it
because-
is.
yeah, because
I
that's,
agree.
that's how I read it.
I agree.
If it was a strong mayor, then you would have the veto power and I would say then you're not voting. You'd just be there to say, no, this is where we're going. But since it's a weak mayor,
I think John read up a little bit on that.
oh, not.
No, I think he's right.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to, you know, because another 2 years, you know, you just want to make sure that things get done right. Or change, make it right.
Tom will have that 2-year break and he'll step in as mayor.
Thanks, Tom.
No, I think John.
John or Tom?
All right, I found that for Stephen. Anything else done on the miscellaneous, anybody?
Hey, yes, I understand we have a hunter. A hunter in inside of the lagoon.
Oh, yeah, we just talked about that.
I mean,
City property.
yeah, there's no, I guess, I only bring it up. I forget to even talk to me about it. In any case, I only bring it up because it needs to be in the public view that there is no hunting allowed in there, no matter what. No matter who said what to whom or whatever, there is no hunting inside of that, on city property down there by the lagoon, I should say.
Yeah,
Correct.
Period. That includes the archery range, everything down there that belongs to the city or any other property of the city. There is no hunting allowed or trapping. Especially down at the lagoon, that's no trespassing down there.
That's no trespassing, absolutely, yeah.
So that's just,
And maybe to add to that, nobody on this council or employee of has the right to give anybody any permission
no, right, absolutely,
ever
you know,
to do any hunting or whatever,
anything,
cutting trees, anything.
yeah, right, anything. I mean, anything can be brought up to council and discussed and voted on by council, but individually, nobody has.
No one person could give that to anybody because then it would be open to everybody.
Right.
Not singling out individually.
Right.
So, good. Bring that up, Tom. All right, anything else? No. Oh, there ain't no place here to make a motion to adjourn.
Right here.
There it is. You're not looking at the wrong one.
All right, somebody make a motion to adjourn,
Make the motion.
someone the second,
Second.
all in favor, yeah, I opposed, motion carried. Thanks, everybody.
You.